Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Cleavetoantiquity. My name is Ben, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Roman Catholic News. I've got a crazy show for you today. All sorts of insanity happening this week, last week, maybe a little bit from the week before it there, because it's been a little while since I've done a show on this. But we've got some crazy stuff to cover. I'm going to be covering stuff that Brian Davila has been doing, which has been wild. He hosted a Orthodox and Catholic priest dialogue slash debate. We're going to talk about the woman Archbishop of Canterbury meeting with the Pope at the Vatican and what happened in this particular situation. And we're going to be diving into some crazy statements by some of the German bishops in the Roman Catholic Church, as well as some of the bigger scandals that have happened in the last couple of weeks here. So stay tuned. This will be an absolutely wild show. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow me on X. If you're there, retweet where I said I'm going live so we can get some more people here in the live stream chat. Good to see you all. Caleb, what's going on, dude? Good to see you. W, Cleve, hey, I appreciate it. W's in the chat. Rachel, yes, Christ is risen. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. The Johnny Cheng thing is absolutely insane. Let me go ahead and I'll start off with that because this was absurd. I just put out a short on this. By the way, right now, I am live on Kick, Rumble, and YouTube. So make sure to follow me on Kick, Rumble, and YouTube, especially Rumble, because Rumble actually gets some views as opposed to, say, like Kick or Twitch. I won't even try Twitch. I'll just get banned immediately. It'd be a complete waste of time. But follow me on Rumble. And if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and hit me up there because I also post some of my shorts there, as well as some stuff I don't post on YouTube because I can get away with a little more on, on Instagram. So if you want some unique content, go follow me there. That stuff gets some views as well. Anyway, let's go ahead and yeah, the dog. That's right. I am going to talk about that. The communing dogs. This episode's going to be absolutely nuts, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same handle, Cleavetoantiquity, everywhere on all platforms, Cleavetoantiquity. All right. It's also in the description of every live stream I do. So if you want to check out those links, feel free to do so. All right. I want to pull up that Johnny Cheng thing. So Johnny Cheng puts out a video. He puts out a video, the most recent one. Gosh, hold on. I'm going to pull this up. Johnny Cheng. And it says something like, okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here because this is nuts. This is absolutely bonkers. So Johnny Cheng puts out a video and it says, its title is Why Jesus is Letting Evil Win Right Now, End Times Unfolding. And it's got a literal schema monk in the background of this thumbnail. It says Year of Evil. Year of Evil. What are we doing here, dude? Are you trying to say schema monks are evil or the Orthodox are evil? Jesus is letting the Orthodox win because everybody's converting to Orthodoxy and we're evil. This is the only reason people would be becoming Orthodox is because they're of the devil. Is that what's going on here? Because he's got a picture of Orthodox schema monk back there. Absolutely wild, dude. Yeah, that's disrespectful, dude. It's nuts. Well, when I check out the actual video, it has like nothing to do with the thumbnail. So maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. Granted, I didn't watch the entire thing, but I don't know, man. You gotta know. You gotta know that's a schema monk. I mean, it's literally all over social media, people posting pictures of schema monks like aura farming or whatever. So it's pretty common knowledge at this point. So I don't know. He said some pretty anti-Orthodox stuff in the past. So I'm just going to assume that he knew what he was doing in this thumbnail, unless he says otherwise. I posted a short about this on X and on Instagram, but this was absolutely wild. Laura says he doesn't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Do you think this was more ignorance on his part? Or do you think he's trying to say the Orthodox are evil? Let me know what you think. Let me see what you say in the chat. Is he ignorant on this, or is he being intentional? What you think? Oh, yeah. Question specifically of any crazy Catholic news, what's going on in the Eastern Catholic Church? Yeah. Well, I covered this in the last episode. They're changing their code of canon law. So it's going to be less traditional. It's going to be, it's no longer going to be the safe haven people have been using it for, because they're running away from TLM persecution. They're running away from the Novus Ordo. So they're hiding in the Eastern Catholic churches, but they're changing the code of canon law. And the guy that is in charge of changing the code of canon law for the Eastern Catholic churches is Skittles. And not a very good, not who you would want to be monkeying around with that kind of stuff, by the way. I talked about this in a previous episode, but let me see if I can just pull up the article, maybe. Where's it at? I don't know if, here you go. Okay, so this is the guy. This is the guy here. Cardinal associated with Skittles adult meeting and Freemasons now campaigning for synodal canon law changes. He's no longer campaigning for it. He's been placed in charge of it. So this is the guy that's going to be changing your Eastern Catholic code of canon law. Yeah, he's going to be making them changes. Not the guy you want in charge of this, by the way. The exact opposite of the guy you want in charge of this whole situation. This is a nightmare. Good grief. Yeah, exactly. So you got this dude. He's gonna be changing up your based in trad Eastern Catholic canon law, making them upgrades for y'all, making them upgrades for you Eastern Catholics here. So I don't know. It's going to be such a nightmare, dude. I mean, you've already got them persecuting the TLM. You've got them persecuting the SSPX. You've got them wanting to mandate the Novus Ordo being the only mass served, basically. They only really want the Novus Ordo. Pope Leo made a statement, and some trads were saying, "Oh, maybe he's going to be nicer to us or whatever, and undo some of these restrictions." That never ended up happening. Will it happen in the future? Maybe. But from all of the actual statements and actions that they're making, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Eastern Catholics, you're going to have nowhere left to hide. So time to become Orthodox, dude. This guy's coming for your Eastern Catholic churches. He's going to flip it completely upside down. All right, so I want to dive into some of this other news here, get into some of the lighter stuff, and then we'll dive into the heavier stuff, because sometimes the Catholic news segments can get super heavy because it's insane, and a lot of this stuff is straight up evil. But we'll get into a more silly one. So this is posted April 20th, Tradition in Action. To commemorate St. Patrick's Day, the Church of Clonard Monastery in Belfast invited 8 dancers to prepare the altar for Mass. Although gracious and artistically well-trained, the girls should not have been invited to the altar, especially not in mini skirts, since the custom paves the way for deaconesses and priestesses. So they've got the women serving the altar, they're setting the altar, but they're like doing a traditional Irish dance as they set up the altar. Let's take a look here. I'm going to mute the music just in case it gives me a copyright strike, but you get the point. They're doing their little dance. They're setting up the altar there. So you've got these little kid, or I guess they're both kids doing an Irish dance, setting up the altar. So Irish dancing altar servers in the Catholic Church. This is your based in trad Roman Catholicism. So not only are there female altar servers, but they're going to dance the whole time they setting up that altar, man. They're going to be doing the little clickety-clack Irish dance as they're setting up. So you get in the Irish Eucharist, the Irish communion. Well, they don't have the Eucharist. They're Catholic, they're Roman Catholic, but you get the point. You're going to be getting that Irish communion today. The Irish dancing girl communion. So they got the altar servers, the girl altar servers there. And then after this is all done, you'll have, Karen from the parish council giving you your communion in the hand, which basically they're just serving as deaconesses, the extraordinary women ministers. Anyway. Yeah, David danced before the Lord with all his might. So that means we could dance at any point in the liturgy. We could just start dancing. Everybody's dancing. That's insane, dude. Who is Johnny? Does he know PF? Oh, Cheng's. Does he know PF Cheng? Templar, $2. Let's hope it's ignorance. Maybe he'll clarify. Yeah, that's right. Johnny Cheng. Respond to my short. Let me know if you're just joking or ignorant or whatever, dude. Because that thumbnail is insane. Oh my goodness, bro. With the schema monk. This is evil thumbnail. Ridiculous, dude. It's insane. Give dog treat communion to people, they'd stay. Yeah. Did you guys hear about this yet? Did you hear about this? Everybody's talking about dog treat communion. Because this is like, I guess, I didn't realize everybody already was hip to this news, the dog treat communion news. Y'all hear about this yet? Because this is wild. I was going to cover it later, but I guess I could just dive into this one now. So these guys gave their dog the Eucharist. They shared the Eucharist with their dogs. First off, I'm wondering why you got the dogs in the church. Like, you're walking up there to take communion with your dog? Is that what happened? The diocese said, I just saw this today, by the way. I bookmarked this and I was going to read through this article with y'all, but this is a nuts story already. No, please don't tell me. Yeah, they're sharing communion with their dog. So the Pillar Catholic reports the diocese says 3 people who shared the Eucharist with their dogs have not been excommunicated because they did not act with sacrilegious intent. So they basically just said they're too stupid. They didn't know any better. They just gave the communion to their dog. What is going on, dude? Insane. Yeah. Give dog treat communion to people, they'd stay. Nuts. Yeah, by the way, guys, if you want to help me reach the super chat goal, I appreciate it. Let's dive into this crazy story because I want to see exactly what happened here. So this is from Pillar Catholic. Swiss Catholics out of doghouse over Eucharistic desecration. The diocese said 3 people who shared the Eucharist with their dogs did not act with sacrilegious intent. So this is breaking today. Their ruling. They're saying they're not going to get excommunicated. They will face 0 punishment for giving communion to their dog. A Swiss diocese announced that 3 people who shared the Eucharist with their dogs have not been excommunicated because they did not act with sacrilegious intent. The Diocese of Chur announced in an April 17th statement it had completed an investigation into an incident that took place at a blessing of the animals held last October 4th at Good Shepherd Parish in Zurich. Interesting. I didn't catch this in the news cycle last year, but that's crazy. Maybe they kept it quiet and then it just came out after they made a decision. Due to a poor weather forecast, the blessing was moved indoors, combined with a Eucharistic celebration. During the Eucharistic celebration, 3 people shared the portions of their host with their dogs, the diocese says. Bro. So they had their dogs inside the church, waiting in line to receive communion, and they split it like a little snack with their dog. Oh my goodness, bro. I'm reading this for the first time, by the way. I did not read through this article. I read the headline, so I didn't know exactly what was going on with this. Again, I just saw this today. So let me get this right. These guys, they're outside for a blessing or whatever. They're outside for like some kind of ceremony. It starts raining, so they go inside the church with their dogs, walking into the church with their dogs. and then they get the Eucharist, they get the communion because they don't have an actual Eucharist, and they just, and then they give the rest to their dog. Oh my goodness, bro. Oh, this is one thing that you'd have to give to Eastern Catholics because at least they do use the Eucharistic spoon like we do. Because that would prevent a lot of these like communion abuses or whatever, where people are just snatching the host and like putting it in their pocket. I posted something on YouTube that was like talking about this subject, or on Instagram, sorry. And it was like a compilation of these abuses where people like snatching up the Eucharist or like their communion, shoving it in their pocket, dropping it on the ground or whatever. You know what solves this? Use the spoon, dude. Use the spoon. I mean, you'd have to go to a pretty far length to do this kind of insanity with your dog if you're taking the Eucharist from the Eucharistic spoon. You'd have to like feed him like a bird or something. Anyway, this is absolutely insane. So they shared communion with their dogs. Diocesan Bishop Joseph Bonneman heard about the incident and began an investigation. The findings clearly show the three individuals did not act with sacrilegious intent. Consequently, these individuals cannot be accused of sacrilege as they lack this sacrilegious intent. Therefore, they did not incur the excommunication reserved to the Apostolic See as a penalty for their actions, the diocese said. I mean, I could really care less how they ruled on this, to be honest, because if somebody's like repentant or whatever, like they should probably have some kind of penance though, right? I don't know. Not my monkey, not my circus. Canon law states that one who throws away the consecrated species or for a sacrilegious purpose takes them away or keeps them, they incur a late sentence, basically automatic excommunication reserved to the Apostolic See. At issue, according to the diocesan statement, is whether or not a person committed sacrilege without intending to. So these people were just too dumb. They didn't know any better. They were too dumb. According to the Canon Law Society of America's canonical commentary, the canon envisions three possible, whatever. You get the point. I don't think I need to read the rest of this. So they come into the church and they give communion to their dog. So here's some background on the bishop who ruled in favor of not giving these guys any punishment. He's the Bishop Bonneman, the guy who ruled on this, a priest of Opus Dei, appointed by Pope Francis in 2021, has seen a number of controversies in recent years. He faced pushback from diocesan priests after he issued a code of conduct that enjoined clergy to avoid sweeping negative assessments of allegedly unbiblical behavior based on Skittles stuff. So don't be mean. Don't say anything bad about people who are Skittles. And do not ask offensive questions about intimate life and relational status. So don't ask, don't tell, basically, is this guy's policy. More than 40 priests refused to sign the document, arguing that the norms would prevent them from teaching Catholic doctrine on the Skittles stuff. So this guy is already really, really odd. So it's not any surprise that he wouldn't give he would give no punishment to people who gave communion to their dogs. He said they're ignorant. They don't know any better. Good to go. So yeah, there's that. So that's your dog communion story there that people were talking about in the chat. Those who are mentally not here can't commune, but dogs can. Yikes. Yeah, that's rough, dude. That's rough. No pun intended. Oh, that's rough. Lord have mercy. All right, let's get into our next story here. So I posted a short on this one, but I figure this might be interesting to cover with y'all while we're here. Diocesan Cathedral in Canada hosts ice hockey watch party with pizza and beer. This is from Novus Ordo Watch. They're a sedevacantist news organization that actually has some pretty good news. They do a pretty good job reporting on some of this stuff. Anyway, Diocesan Cathedral in Canada hosts ice hockey watch party with pizza and beer. So here's a cathedral. You see they got the projectors set up. They're watching this above where the altar would be. There's some kind of projection screen here, and then they're projecting stuff all over the walls as well. On Sunday, April 19th, 2026, the official Roman Catholic Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist in Quebec was the public venue for an ice hockey watch party, and not just the run-of-the-mill kind. The opportunity to follow live the match between the Montreal Canadiens, aka Habs, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's go Lightning. Teams was put together as an immersive experience by a professional group of artists known as Law, whatever that is. On their website, they advertise the event as follows. Come experience the Habs playoff like never before. Every game night, this cathedral transforms into a massive gathering place where sports, creativity, light, the heritage come together. This game is broadcast live on a 35-foot giant screen in the heart of the nave, surrounded by immersive projections to take over the walls and architecture of the space. Every game night. So every time they have a game going, this is what they're doing, dude. They're going in there and they're playing the hockey match and drinking beer, getting drunk in the sanctuary, eating pizza, and streaming the hockey game onto a giant screen where the altar is, basically. Notice one thing about this, though. Notice one thing about this that I did not mention in the short that I posted. This was on a Sunday. They did this on Sunday. They got the people in there drinking beer, freaking eating pizza in the sanctuary, screaming, hooting, and hollering on Sunday in the sanctuary of this cathedral. So this wasn't just like some random day of the week. This is like after service, dude. Right. This is insane. So it's like nothing holy. There's nothing holy. I mean, I think you can answer that question for the Roman Catholics, but Lord of mercy, this is insane. Here's a wider shot of the madness going on. They got all the projections and stuff all over the roof, on the sides. You've got the people in here partying it up, and then the projection right behind the altar there. Cathedral's Facebook page advertised the watch party using this flyer. So they do this every game day. So every Sunday there's a hockey game. This is what's going on. This is still going on to this day. It's not a one-time thing. And yes, this is an actual Catholic church that is still in use. The cathedral belongs to the Diocese of St. John. I can't pronounce that last name. Some French name, I guess. The current boss there is Bishop Claude Hamlin. So this is an active church. So you don't have the excuse of saying, oh, well, it's just like a building they use for, it's just a building they use for some like events or something. No, this is an actual church. All right, so let's take a look, a little video here.
Vous étiez nombreux ce soir, des minutes de ce match. Et justement, notre collègue.
C'est assez incroyable, là. On dirait que les cloches allaient sonner, que le toit allait exploser. C'était une véritable fête. En plus de vivre ça dans une église, avec différents éclairages pour différents moments du match, il y avait toute une ambiance électrisante.
Who won, though? I got no idea, dude. I don't watch hockey. I'm going to say the Lightning won. The Lightning won because I'm Floridian. So Lightning obviously beat these guys, okay? I don't even need to watch the game, okay? I don't even need to watch the game. The Lightning won. These guys are doing crazy, insane parties in their churches to cheer on the Habs. No way. Actually, I think the Habs did win. I think the Habs did win because I remember watching a clip and it said like victory on top or something. Oh, Lord of mercy. Guy in the corner doing a keg stand. Is that real?
J'ai parlé à quelques partisans des Canadiens immédiatement après la victoire. Écoutez bien ces réactions à chaud.
Oui, c'était un excellent match. On savait qu'on allait l'avoir. Go Habs, go Tabarouette.
Ça fait du bien, hein?
Oh que oui!
Très bon match, très apprécié, très heureux. Le cardigan chanceux est de retour.
On sait que le premier match est important.
Drunk guy holding up his beer. What?
Toujours important, toujours important. Un sur la route de gagner. Allons-y pour un deuxième. Let's go.
Tantôt, je te l'ai dit, 4-3.
Ah, c'était un excellent match.
Yeah, merci.
C'est aucun bon sens, mais je ne savais que le Slav était capable encore. C'est sûr. Sûr, certain.
You get the point. So they're going nuts. They're going bananas. They're partying it up. Was that guy really doing a keg stand somewhere? I'd really want to see that. Click CC for a subtitle. No, I'm too much of a boomer. Where is that? Oh, here you go. Let's see what there's.
Tour du chapeau, bravo. C'est une dinguerie, quel match.
Viens dormir ce soir.
Ouais, c'est sûr. Oui.
The subtitles don't even pick it up.
Ah ouais, merveilleux.
Gabagool, gabagool. Hey, what are you talking about? Gabagool. So anyway, you got crazy party church, crazy party hockey church, absolutely bananas. All right, so there's another story I want to dive into about the German Catholic bishops. So this was huge breaking news this last week, absolutely massive. This was all over the place. And this was about Cardinal Marx promoting in Munich, Germany, blessings for irregular couples and same-sex couples. So they wanted to make this a formalized process where they would come in. It's like a not a marriage. They're already doing this in Belgium, by the way. 6 dioceses already have normalized blessing ceremonies that they do where they'll have them come in. It's like a wedding. They've got 2 people, 2 dudes or whatever. They're getting blessed by the priest. Then they have a little party popper thing outside. They do the kiss. They do all this other stuff. So it's like a pseudo wedding. So this is the same thing that Munich, Germany wanted to implement. This is already going on in Belgium. And this is Cardinal Marx. He just wants to formalize it to make this a formalized process. So we're going to read this. And then actually, Leo did respond to this call to promote blessings for same-sex couples. He did actually respond to this. So I do want to dive into this article first, and then we'll look at Leo's response. Cardinal Marx promotes blessings for irregular and same-sex couples in Munich. So here you go. So basically, he puts forth this document. The text raises the possibility of blessing couples who do not access the sacrament of marriage, including remarried divorcees, same-sex couples, and unions that just don't want to be married formally. They just want like a blessing thing going on. Okay. Anyway, this proposal was supported by the Vatican document Fiducia Supplicans. This was Pope Francis's document that said that you can bless same-sex couples, published in December 2023, which opened the door to non-liturgical blessings for couples in irregular situations. So this is a step forward from that document because he wants to formalize it. So he wants to add this into a book of blessings, basically. The guide was developed within a dialogue body between bishops and laity, which has no normative capacity. Therefore, its application depends on each diocesan bishop. In practice, the majority of German dioceses allow or recommend its use, though some as Cologne, Regensburg, or Passau have rejected its implementation. So everybody in Germany is on board with doing formalized Skittles blessings. They want to do it. They're saying, come on, let's go ahead and do it. We're going to formalize this. This will be our loophole to do the weddings. We just can't give them like the certificate saying they're married or whatever, but they can come in and have their nice little ceremony, and then they can go off to the state, and then the state can give them their little certificate, and then they can say, we got married in a Catholic church. And that's kind of what they want to do. Okay. So this is what Cardinal Marx is pushing a new official ritual of blessings. So it's a book of blessings being revised for whatever. You get it. So he wants to add this to the book of blessings. He wants to make this a more formalized thing. Now, Pope Leo did actually respond to this. Let me see it because I made a post. I shared a post on this on my X page. So let me go ahead and find that because I put his comments in that post there. So give me 1 second and I'll locate that. But basically, Leo clapped back at Marx. He said, dude, what are you talking about? But he did also say some things that were kind of scandalous at the same time. So you had people on both sides of the aisle freaking out over this particular statement here. So let's take a look at what he did. Give me 1 second. I'm going to find it. There you go. Nope, wrong one. Okay. So his comments were this here. Breaking update. The Pope intervenes on Cardinal Mark's approval of the blessing of homosexual couples. The Holy See has already spoken with the German bishops. The Holy See has made it clear we do not agree with the formalized, this is the key word, formalized blessing of couples, in this case, of Skittles couples or of couples in irregular situations, beyond what is specifically permitted by Pope Francis in saying that all people can receive a blessing. So he's saying you can still give the blessing, you can still do the blessings, you just can't make it formal. You can't do a formalized, you can't put this in a book and say this is how we're going to do the Skittles blessings. We just want these things to happen naturally so we can claim they're all abuses, basically. That's how it reads to me. It's like, well, there's plausible deniability if we don't make it formalized. Because then we can just say all of these things are abuses, even if they happen all the freaking time, which they do happen all the time. This is already happening regularly in Belgium. There was a guy who was Pope Francis' previous advisor that was literally one of the first flown out to Belgium to get his Skittles wedding blessing. And it looked just like a wedding. This was Pope Francis' previous advisor. He runs an Instagram page called Theology for the Unwanted, okay, in which he argues that the vast majority of Catholics are Skittles, and they do the vast majority of the work in the church, but they can't talk about it. Shh. That's what he argues for. Go follow him on Instagram if you want to see some crazy stuff. Theology for the Unwanted, former Francis advisor, by the way, first guy to receive the more formal Skittles blessings in Belgium. Anyway, when a priest gives a blessing at the end of the Mass, when the Pope gives a blessing at the end of the great celebration like the one we had today, there are blessings for all people. Francis' famous expression, everyone, 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 expresses the church's conviction all are welcome, all are invited to follow Jesus, all are invited to seek conversion in their own lives. Going beyond this today, I believe, could cause more disunity than unity. We should seek to build our unity on Jesus Christ and on what Jesus Christ teaches. This is my response to the question. So basically he says you can still do the blessings. We just can't make it formalized. Okay. Then he uses the example of like a general blessing at the end, but we all know that's not actually what's going on according to Fiducia Supplicans. So this was his response. Now, Cardinal Marx actually claps back at the Pope. So we got a three-part drama going on. First, you got Marx saying, we're blessing them. Ain't nothing you can do about it. We're doing this. It's going to look just like a wedding, dude. We're going to make it happen, okay? And then you get the Pope saying, no, what are you doing? You're making me get too many emails about this, bro. You're stressing me out. We're not doing this. It's not going to be formalized. And then Marx says, you know what, Pope Leo, you going to call me out like that? And he claps back. And he says this, Marx denounces coordinated campaign against the German Synod following Leo's warning. It's a little trouble in paradise here. He's clapping back at Leo. He's saying, what are you doing, dude? Why are you not letting me do this wedding, bro? Just let me do this wedding, bro. Let me do this Skittles wedding. Cardinal Marx, Archbishop of Munich, denounced the existence of what he considers to be an organized campaign on social media against the so-called German synodal way. Oh, he's talking about my podcast, dude. He doesn't like that I report on the news when they got alien goo baby Jesus at nativity or freaking pig condom mass. You guys remember that? That was like episode 1. Lord have mercy. The German Synod is insane. They've got the most craziest stuff going on. They got dead whale mass. They've got pig in a contraceptive device mass. They've got all sorts of insane stuff going on. But anyway, criticism of opposition to the German Synod. Marx expresses frustration at the way critical perception of the German Synod has taken hold, especially in the digital environment. This is also a phenomenon of social media, especially among the more reactionary side, he stated. According to the Cardinal, these sectors would be really well coordinated in their efforts, particularly in the United States, both in the political and ecclesial spheres. In contrast, the Archbishop of Munich considers those who defend the synodal process have not had the same presence or ability to articulate on social networks. You got to up your game, dude. I think this would be okay. Listen, Marx, please be more active on social media. I got to see the insane stuff you're going to say, dude. Please, I'm begging you. Everyone who supports the German synodal way, be way more active on social media. You're going to give me so much stuff to react to. It's already insane, but when you're out there saying it plainly, it's going to be beautiful to witness. I mean, it'd be absolutely terrible for the Roman Catholic Church, but good grief, dude. Good grief. Anyway, emphasizing, so the other side's not as active there. You could be the change you want to see, buddy. Emphasizing he conveyed his concern both to Pope Francis and the current pontiff, Leo, warning of what he describes as a propaganda effort. So he's saying, look, this is a response to Leo condemning, his recent statement. And he's saying, look, the only reason Leo's saying this is because everybody online is saying we're doing this. They're saying the truth, basically. We want all this Skittles stuff. So people are pushing back on us doing all this Skittles stuff. I don't understand how this makes sense. It's a coordinated propaganda campaign against this nonsense. Anyway, during a flight back from his trip to Africa, Pontiff said, hey, we ain't doing this. German laity defends the blessings. So the Germans are saying, come on, Pope Leo, let us do the blessings. Division amongst German dioceses, so on and so forth. So got a little bit of trouble in paradise there. Pope Leo and the bishop going back and forth a bit. He's not calling out Pope Leo by name, but he's calling out everybody who's bringing to light the fact that he wants to formalize blessings for Skittles people and all this kind of stuff. So this brings me to another topic. Here you go. Let me read this real quick. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, help us reach the goal. Help me reach the goal. Did you see the video of the rave they held outside that one cathedral for Archbishop's 75th birthday with the DJ priest? Yeah, that one's kind of old. I don't really, it's kind of cringe. It's kind of cringe seeing a priest DJing in it's like priestly attire and stuff. That's kind of cringe. But I don't think a priest having a hobby outside of his vocation is bad. You've got, I'll give that guy a pass. It looks cringe, okay? It looks cringe, but it's not during the mass. This is a separate event, okay? This is like his hobby or something. Priests are allowed to have hobbies. I'm not that particular on that one guy. The stuff that I'm more concerned about is when they're doing this stuff in the middle of the church. They've got a freaking hockey game, drinking beer, getting drunk in the church. They've got rave mass going on during the actual mass, clown masses, dogs eating the Eucharist. This is the stuff I'm more concerned about. But I know a lot of people were pointing at that as a easy slam dunk. I just don't think that one has as much bite because it's not really during the service or anything like that. But I do want to dive into Bishop Barron. So Bishop Barron, he's been the face of a number of different controversies lately. So he says civil authority, not the church, should determine when a war is just. So Leo came out recently. I don't even need to go into the article. I could just explain what happened here. So Barron has been pushing back on some of the statements that Pope Leo has been saying, but he's doing it indirectly. Pope Leo made a statement. He said, God does not bless those who wage war. He says God does not answer the prayers of those who wage war. Bishop Barron is saying that actually it should be the president that determines whether or not a war is just, not the church. So both are like wrong on this count, even from traditional Roman Catholic perspectives. But he's saying actually a just war should be determined by the president, by the government, not by the Pope. And the Pope is saying there are no just wars at all. So they're both way wrong. But Bishop Barron has been basically defending this recent Zionist push by our government. He went and he attacked Carrie Prejean after she was kicked off of the Religious Liberty Commission and all of these stuff. He made a recent statement here that I'm going to dive into. He's been making a bunch of insane statements. But this was his statement here on April the 20th. There's a way past the absurd and deeply divisive war between the president and the Pope, which has been enthusiastically ginned up by the press. And it is indicated in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2309 to be precise, after laying out the various criteria for determining a just war, proportionally, last resort, declaration by a competent authority, reasonable hope of success, etc. The Catechism points the evaluation of these conditions for moral legitimacy belong to the prudential judgment of those who have responsibility to the common good. So you're saying that's not the Pope, that's the civil authorities. So it's all subjective. So just war is subjective. The assumption is that the war, that the just war principles function, to use a technical term, as a heuristic device. Anyway, you get the point. So he says the role of the church, therefore, is to call for peace and to urge any in the conflict strictly circumscribed by moral constraints of the just war criteria. But it is not the role of the church to evaluate whether a particular war is just or unjust. So he's saying, Pope, you're overstepping your bounds. Pope Leo, you're overstepping your bounds. You cannot determine whether or not a war is just or unjust. That belongs to the government. That is not Catholic teaching. It is also not Catholic teaching, traditional Catholic teaching, because really, what is Catholic teaching at this point? Traditional Catholic teaching, historic Catholic teaching, is that the Pope both wields the temporal sword and the spiritual sword of the church. This was a required belief for salvation for hundreds of years. He wields both of these things. So for Bishop Barron to say it's not up to him to say whether or not a war is just or unjust is absurd. But then also it's equally absurd for Pope Leo to say God doesn't answer the prayers of those who wage war. Because what happened during the Crusades? God just wasn't answering your prayers. What happened during all of the wars in the Papal States? What happened? I mean, you had a standing army. What was the point of that? Was it just evil? So this raises a number of questions. Leo also said something recently. He said that the death penalty is never justified, ever. So he said there should be no death penalty. If it's never justified, if it's like intrinsically evil, this is a recent statement, by the way. He said this a little while ago, but he clarified. He says, never. We need to abolish the death penalty. The Roman Catholic Church used this for like thousands of years. What are you talking about? So it's just like he doesn't care at all what the church historically taught. He's more concerned with what the optics are like today and leaning a little more left, right? We're going to get rid of all this stuff. We're going to be more, basically everything that the church historically taught as far as morals goes is kind of out the window. It's whatever I say now, whatever the like woke talking points are today. That's what he's pushing for. So yeah, it's insane. Yeah, they got the keys. Yeah, they got the keys. They just change it. That's what the Pope do. That's what the Pope do. By the way, y'all, help me reach a super chat goal. I don't even know what we're at, dude. What are we at? Let me check. Let me check this goal. Help me hit the goal, y'all. What am I at here? I didn't even look. We're only at 2 out of 15. What's going on, y'all? Help me hit this super chat goal. I appreciate it. If you want to ask questions or send something where you want me to react to something, I'll pull that up and we can dive into it as long as it's not too long. All right. I'm going to pull up some more stuff here. Let me go ahead and I'll dive into the next article because I've got a ton of stuff saved. It's been a little while since I've done a Catholic news stream. Let me know if y'all like this type of stream, if you want me to continue to do Catholic news streams. Because I think they're entertaining. People have found them extremely helpful. People have messaged me and said that they kind of help them along their way to orthodoxy and stuff like this because they see what's going on in their own church, and nobody talks about this stuff. It's really just me. But anyway, let's keep going. Me and LifeSite News, by the way. All right, let's take a look at this. This was a crazy one. In this 20 or 32-second clip of an Anglican ordination, you see Fresno Catholic Bishop Joseph Brennan, far left, participate by reciting the formula of ordination and extending his hands. Some are insistent this is not a co-consecration, but call it what you like. This is what he did. So you've got a Roman Catholic bishop ordaining an Anglican bishop. So he's there at the service. You've got all these lady priestesses here. This is a Catholic bishop. He even says the formula of ordination. He even says it. He follows along with them. Take a look at this video. This is absolutely insane.
Father, make Gregory a bishop in your church. Pour out upon him the power of your princely spirit, whom you bestowed upon your beloved Son, Jesus Christ, with whom he endowed the apostles, and by whom your church is built up in every place to the glory and unceasing praise of your name. Amen.
So there you go. He recites the formula of ordination during the ordination of a Anglican bishop. So does this bishop have valid orders now? He's been ordained by this Anglican bishop. So does he have valid orders now? What's going on here, dude? It's insane. Have you seen Pope Leo and the Bishop of Canterbury giving each other presents? I was going to dive into, I didn't see that particular one that they gave each other presents or whatever, but I was going to cover some of her visit because she just visited the Vatican like this week. And there's a bunch of clips floating around from that. I am going to dive into it. I'll see if I can find that one. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Let me give you a soundboard here. I'm going to give you this right here. I'll give you a scream. How about that? We'll go with the classic. Thank you from retired pipe organist replaced by mariachi man. Is that real? Did you lose your job for a mariachi band? That's nuts, dude. If that's true, Lord have mercy. I've seen some crazy stuff go on in the Roman Catholic Church, though. There was a whole playlist I put together, or a edit I put together with these like South American like pagan mass stuff, and they did have like the Shakers and all that stuff. That's insane, dude. That's nuts. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find that. I'm gonna find some more stuff on the what do you call it? That Archbishop of Canterbury visit. I did have a couple of things to talk about on that. So she did a couple of things during this visit that were a little suspicious. They was a little suspicious here, okay? Stuff that shouldn't be going on here, okay? So we're going to take a little bit of a look-see at it. So here you have, there you go, okay. So you've got Archbishop Mullally leads Pope Leo in prayer in the Vatican. So she's the one leading the prayers during this service. By the way, if you're Roman Catholic, the Pope says you're in partial communion with this, okay? That's what the Pope says. You're in, whatever that means, partial communion with the lady bishop here, okay? He calls her a bishop. All right, he doesn't say she's a fake bishop. He says, use a bishop. All right, so you're in partial communion with this. He also said you have the same faith as this, by the way. He said we just need to come into visible communion. All right, so if you're Roman Catholic, you're in whatever partial communion means with this lady here.
Hallelujah. Praise the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. He has given us new life and hope. He has raised Jesus Christ. He has brought us out of darkness. He has made us light of the world. Hallelujah. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah.
So she's leading the prayer there with the Pope. So yeah, that's nuts. I kind of want to see. Okay, I want to see where's she getting gifts at? Where is she getting these gifts at? All right, hold on. I'm going to see. I'm just going to type in Pope Leo gifts. Archbishop. See if that pulls up. Okay. Is this even significant? The gifts that they gave? Okay, let's see. I got this here. So are these significant? Maybe. Handout photo taken April, whatever. Shows Pope Leo exchanging gifts with Sarah Malele in the Vatican. Papal audience was part of yada yada, yada yada yada. Malele's a nurse. She was a nurse. Your archbishop's a former nurse. Woo! This makes you qualified, girl. Don't you know if you a nurse? If you a nurse, you qualified. You can lead the whole church. It doesn't even say what the gifts were. Dude, this is so annoying. That's the problem with looking up some of this stuff. If I don't like vet it beforehand, it's like nothing. It's no information. It's just a bunch of like, it's just a bunch of nothing. Okay, hold on. Where's the gifts? All right, no. All right, I don't see anything significant with the gifts, so I'm just going to dive into what I had with the Archbishop lady. The Archlady Bishop. Hold up. Can you shout out my channel? I'm an EO catechumen. Well, you sent in the super chat, so your super chat name is up here. Don't be teaching online, boy. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right. So let's dive into this here. So you got, she led the prayers here. But this was more scandalizing here. Female Archbishop of Canterbury gives blessing at St. Peter's tomb. By the way, she also knelt before the tomb of St. Paul. Okay, which is ironic given what Paul says about women speaking in church. But anyway, let's pull this up here. Female Archbishop of Canterbury gives blessing at St. Peter's tomb with Catholic bishop present. Catholic Archbishop Flavio Pace made the sign of the cross as Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury Sarah Malele performed a blessing in the Clementine Chapel during a Vatican visit. The female Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury is given a blessing at the tomb of St. Peter with a Catholic Archbishop present. A photograph of her doing this is basically popped up. Here's the picture. So she's sitting there LARPing here. She's got her fingers up. She's pretending. Oh, I'm so holy. Oh, I'm going to bless you because I am a lady. I'm a lady archbishop. Oh. So anyway, so she's sitting here and he's reverently crossing himself. He's very serious. He's kind of aura farming or whatever. And then you've got priestess, partial communion with the Pope, Archbishop of Canterbury here. She posted, she's so proud. Today I began my ecumenical pilgrimage here in Rome, praying at the tombs of St. Peter and St. Paul. We walk in the footsteps of the apostles. Receive my blessing. Woo-hoo-hoo. Anyway, John Henry Weston says, what a sacrilege. Right in front of the bones of St. Peter, the first of the apostles, the fake archbishop gives a blessing while a Catholic bishop bows. One thing to note about this, they received her like an actual bishop. They had a whole procession into this place. So it wasn't like this was an accident. She came here, this is coordinated, and she gives a blessing at the bones of St. Peter. The symbolism is off the freaking charts here, dude. You've got apostate Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Malele, somehow married to a Catholic guy, okay? He's not even in the same church she's the leader of, by the way. She's married to a Catholic dude, first off. But this lady being marched into the heart of the Vatican, where the bones of the Apostle Peter are, St. Peter, and she's going to give the blessing, and the bishops are just sitting there receiving it. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, just think of the symbolism. This is, I mean, they got the keys. The keys are receiving the blessing. The first, the Prince of the Apostles receiving a blessing from the apostate archbishop. Sickening. What about Brian Davila, Vor and Roots of Orthodoxy touring Egypt, I think? Yeah, I'm going to dive into Brian's stuff next. I don't know about him touring Egypt, but I know he did some stuff with Vor, but something that he did recently with a Catholic priest and a Coptic Orthodox priest was shocking. And I'm going to be reporting on that in just a moment here. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. We're getting closer to goal. Only 10 more super chats to goal. Appreciate the support, y'all. All right. The Catholic Church does not consider the ordinations of the Anglican Church valid. What about that one dude that was just ordained by the Catholic bishop there? Is his valid? What about the priest that he's about to ordain too? That'd be an interesting question. Therefore, it's impossible women to be validly ordained priests or bishops. Pace was present to accompany Mullally and show around the Vatican during the visit, which culminated in a private audience with Pope Leo on Monday. It's hard to express how wrong this is, Weston wrote on X. This woman, Archbishop Sarah, is a mockery of holy orders and a walking falsehood. Yet she's officially paraded into the sacred Clementine Chapel of St. Peter's Basilica to give a blessing, and tomorrow she meets with Pope Leo. This is the same Pope who refuses to meet with the legitimate bishops and priests of the SSPX. Lord have mercy on your church. Yeah, that is a good point. Leo will not meet with the traditional Catholics, but he has all the time in the world to meet with LARPing fake Archbishop Mullally here, who supports unaliving babies and Skittles stuff. By the way, Anglican Church, the Church of England, just approved Skittles blessings of their own. So the things that Pope Leo said, we're not going to formalize this, the Church of England actually just formalized officially earlier this month, thanks to this apostate Archbishop lady, quote unquote Archbishop lady. So, Lord of mercy. Let's dive into the Brian Davila stuff and get into something a little less heavy, I think. Because there's a whole bunch that could be said about this lady, but honestly, it's a little dark. But I do want to get into this with Brian Davila. So I'm going to dive into this and pull this up. Brian Davila. Davila. All right. Let's take a peek at this. Hold up. There you go. All right, we're going to take a look at this here. So I made this post pointing something out about his most recent video. So Brian Davila, he's a Protestant guy. He's one of the terminal fence sitter accounts on YouTube. There's a number of these dudes that do these types of interviews. They're Protestant guys that will just chat. Like, I'm just going to have a chat with clergy from the Catholics, from the Orthodox, from the Coptics, from all over. I'm just going to invite them on. I'm not really going to press them on anything. We're just going to chat. We'll do interviews with clergy of different denominations. And I'm going to be like the perpetual seeker guy and build my brand off of that. This is a super, super effective brand strategy for Protestants and other people who are mega ecumenists to use, by the way, because when you do a channel that is polemical and is not super ecumenist, you lose out on that massive portion of the population. So channels like this know this. The guys that are good at SEO know this. So they pander to the broadest audience they can. This is why guys like Sam Shimon promote apostolic Christianity, so they can retain Catholic viewership, Orthodox viewership, Coptic viewership, and Protestants. So all of this stuff, it's like this big blanket thing. I guess Sam Shimon, not Protestants, but this guy, Protestants. So Brian Davila, he has a interview on here where it's a Catholic priest and a Coptic priest doing a kind of pseudo debate dialogue type deal. So he titles it Roman Catholic Priest versus Orthodox Priest, How to Choose a Church and Eucharist. Okay. One massive thing. Does this stand out to y'all? Because I pointed this out about this guy in the past. He calls the Coptic priests Orthodox priests, and he does this on purpose for SEO, for search engine optimization. Okay. Because he knows he will not get as many clicks if he says Oriental Orthodox priest or if he says Coptic priest. Now, the problem with this, first off, I don't believe Father Lazarus, this guy here, is intentionally telling these people to do this, but the ecumenist channels that are having him on absolutely are in on it, okay? At least most of them. This guy claims he was not in on it previously, but now he's doing it anyway. So this was a previous post I made about the same gentleman. The Coptic grift knows no bounds. Brian Davila talks about his experience interviewing Coptic priests as Orthodox Christians. He says, I legit thought it was all just Orthodox and it was all good and they can take the Eucharist together. I didn't know any better, man. Just to get off of my back, I didn't know any better. I didn't know these weren't Orthodox priests. I didn't know these were Coptic priests. Now, granted, here's the thing. I know that the Coptics call themselves Orthodox. That is not my objection. The objection that I'm posing here is that just because they say they're Orthodox doesn't mean they are, and that's not the normal name that they're known by from the masses, by the way. This would be like me going on a podcast and saying conversations with a Catholic, okay? So would I go on a podcast? Of course, the Orthodox Church is the Catholic Church. Of course, we're Catholics. But is that what lay people think? Is that what normal, like everyday dudes out in the street think when they think Orthodox or Catholic? So should I now go on podcasts and call myself Catholic? I'm a part of I'm just the Catholic Church. Put that in the title next time you have me on your show. Interview with Catholic guy. Or have Father Moses go on, Catholic priest. You get the point here. But they don't want to use Oriental Orthodox because they know nobody cares about the Oriental Orthodox. Nobody cares about the Copts. They're not going to get as many clicks. But you know what this actually does? If he gets negative engagement, this actually boosts his views. So he'll do this on purpose so people will leave massive amounts of comments and then he just ignores them all. Because if you go check any of these videos, all of the comments are like, that's not an Orthodox priest. That's not an Orthodox priest. That's a Coptic guy. So it's a big grift. The thing that sucks is he's doing it again when he was lamenting just a little while ago, March 7th, last month, saying he didn't know any better. Please get off of my back. Please stop attacking me for this. I was ignorant. I didn't know any better. And now he's doing it on purpose. So he's basically just confirmed he's grifting. This is a big grift. Let's take a look at his statement here.
Now I want to talk about something that was a little bit confusing. So apparently there is a big difference, which I thought was small, between Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox. I legit thought it was just Orthodox and it's all good. They all can take the Eucharist together. There's no beef. But apparently there is a big beef between Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox. And I don't know if this is just a thing online, but I did a podcast with Father Lazarus, who is an Oriental Orthodox priest, and got a bunch of negative comments, messages, emails saying that he's not even Orthodox. Now I want to talk about some.
So he got a bunch of comments, emails, a bunch of backlash saying he's not even Orthodox. I just didn't know any better. Come on, guys, quit attacking me. I'm completely innocent in this. I wasn't doing anything malicious. I'm not grifting. I'm not taking advantage of the situation at all. I just didn't know any better. You're a freaking liar, dude. Roman Catholic priest versus Orthodox priest. You know better now. So you're grifting, dude. I don't use that term lightly. Everybody says anything I disagree with is grifting. You're intentionally using this term so that you can make more money. That's the key. So this was I posted this in, here you go. Another example. So this was one where they did not tell Bryce Crawford that this guy is Coptic, because look at the background here of this thumbnail. This is Bryce Crawford's video, and he's got Orthodox priests, Eastern Orthodox priests in the background with the Coptic guy right here. He didn't know any better. You know why? Because the same dudes that are booking this guy's interviews are the same people who are telling them to do this in their thumbnails and titles. Except for not the thumbnail here, but in the previous one. It's the same people. You know who books Father Lazarus's appearances most of the time, who makes the introduction? Roots of Orthodoxy, the Uniate. This dude is in the comment section of every single Father Lazarus interview that he ever does. I made a comment on Bryce Crawford's thing, on his post here, on his video. You know who's the first person to jump down my throat? Roots of Orthodoxy. He came straight for me and was basically saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. They call themselves Orthodox. They say ABC 1, 2, 3. And he's attacking me. You know why? He's protecting his grift. He's the guy making these introductions here, and he hates the Eastern Orthodox. He just made a whole video where he was blasting us, saying we're evil online, we're so mean, we're so vicious, and all this other stuff. So, of course, he wants to present Coptic dudes as Orthodox. Where was the dude saying? Oh, here you go. And here's a recent development. So Agin has a debate set up with David Erhan. According to this guy, the Orientals complained the modern day debate about the thumbnail of the debate with David Erhan because he called us Orthodox and them Coptics. So they have a concerted effort where they are trying to conflate the terms. They're trying to conflate the terms. This is the same subversive conflation, by the way, that we see with the pro-Zionist dudes trying to conflate Zionism and anti-Semitism. This is the same exact stuff. So should we just start doing interviews with Anglicans and call them Catholic priests? Oh, Catholic priest, Sarah Mullally, Catholic Archbishop, Sarah Mullally. They call themselves Catholic. They say they're the Catholic Church. So let's say Catholic Archbishop Sarah Mullally in our titles and thumbnails. How about that? Or who's a Lutheran guy? Javier Perdomo, Catholic apologist. Or Jordan Cooper, Catholic priest. Ridiculous, dude. So stupid. So here you go. So they're being deceptive. This is all tied back to the same dude. Roots of Orthodoxy is kind of organizing Father Lazarus's stuff here. Again, I don't know if he's doing something bad, Father Lazarus, but certainly the people who are booking his appearances are. Because look at Bryce Crawford's thumbnail here. You've got Eastern Orthodox bishops in the background. So Brian Davila, he says, I just didn't know any better. I just didn't know any better. This is all a part of the grift sphere. You've got the terminal fence sitter guys. This is a good way to build a giant audience very quickly if you've got no moral compass. So if you've got zero moral compass, it's very easy to be a mega ecumenist dude and just interview Protestants, Orthodox, Catholics, all of these guys on your show, and then do these little thumbnail and, games like this. Be the terminal fence sitter guy. Roman Catholic priest versus Orthodox priest, calling the Coptic priest Orthodox, because the little SEO tricks. You're going to get people in the comments that crash out, but this just gives you engagement. So this is good. So you'll get more views, and, people are going to blow up and get mad about it, but so what? That's all engagement, right? So when you have no morals, this is the kind of stuff that you do. And then you get the Coptic guys defending their grift like their lives, like their lives depend on it. There was a video recently where, who's the dude? Agin, Cleavetoantiquity. Let me see if I can find that Agin video. No? Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. But anyway, Hagen did some kind of response video with Coptic subdeacon or Ethiopian subdeacon or whatever the dude is. Some other Monophysite subdeacon was on there, and they were saying, Cleave to Antiquity says that we didn't call ourselves Orthodox before 1965. That's not the claim, buddy. See, this is the thing. They engage in word concept fallacies and these types of things. That is not at all what the claim was. The claim was the term Oriental Orthodox didn't exist until 1965, because it's true. The term didn't exist prior to that time. You didn't even adopt the term prior to 1965. But they did a whole video saying, here's a bunch of quotes of us saying we're Orthodox. Great. What does that prove? You call yourselves Orthodox? Anglicans call themselves Catholic. We call ourselves Catholic. You want me to go on podcast now and present myself as a Catholic? Well, put that in the title. This guy's not Catholic. A bunch of like crash outs in the comments. Ridiculous. Anyway. So not only is he doing this, by the way, not only is Brian Davila doing the Coptic grift, because they're all doing this kind of crap, but he's going to have Voice of Reason on to debate Protestants. Voice of Reason, whose own bishop says he shouldn't be making content anymore, but he's going around different channels in opposition to his own bishop. And of course, Brian Davila is going to have him on, because guess who's setting up all these interviews? Roots of Grifting. Roots of Grifting is the plug. He is the connect behind all of these guys. 6 Protestants versus 1 Catholic. Voice of Reason on the way with Brian Davila. Oh, why is this? Because Roots of Grifting is puppeteering this crap. He's making the introductions. They're all a part of the same grifting squad. Roots of Orthodoxy was a uniate Roman Catholic that presented himself as Orthodox. And then eventually he came out and said, surprise, I'm actually a Roman Catholic. I've been doing these interviews with Orthodox priests and stuff. But now, you know what? Surprise, cat's out of the bag. I'm actually a Roman Catholic guy. When the entire time, Roots of Orthodoxy was editing each of Voice of Reason's videos. He was his editor. He was this dude's producer. So they stay friends. And now he carries Voice of Reason around to different podcasts, and they'll do interviews and things like this. But he's also buddy-buddy with all the Copts. So Agan, that subdeacon dude, who else? I don't know. There's no Monophysite influencers besides those two. So those two dudes, they're all in with his little clique or whatever. So now you're seeing Agan and these guys go around to these other podcasts. Why is this? Roots of Orthodoxy is making the outreach to these other channels and asking for them to be invited on. And he's probably even producing their videos for them. Because you know what? The camera setup's almost exactly the same. The camera angles are almost exactly the same. Go compare any of Agan's interviews with a Roots of Orthodoxy interview. It's the exact same. So the Coptic interview grift is all being manufactured by the same dude. This is all Jonathan from Roots of Orthodoxy, the same dude who lied about being Orthodox, pretended he was Orthodox, and was actually a uniate the entire time. So absolutely disgusting. But he's going around to these different platforms, and then they're making titles that say Coptic priest is Orthodox or whatever. It doesn't even say Coptic. It just says Orthodox priest versus Catholic priest. So you should be used to the deception. And then, of course, the Oriental dudes that don't get any attention in any other context are going to fight to the tooth. They're going to fight tooth and nail to defend their grift. You can't make it so that they can't call us Orthodox. You can't call out that we're being deceptive. You can't call out that we're skin suiting your faith, because it's a big grift. Because they're all tied back to Jonathan from Roots of Orthodoxy, who is still promoting Voice of Reason, who was using his position as a catechist to hit on women and draw them off to the side in these little retreats or whatever. Okay. Was texting women lewd things. And admitted to this, and only a couple months later came back and decided to go and do public interviews again, so on and so forth. He even gave access to his old account. He gave the keys to his old account over to his buddy Jonathan from Roots of Orthodoxy to manage it for him. So now, so that he has a little workaround, so he's not publishing to his own account, he's going on to every other channel to do interviews and debates and all this other stuff and teach again under the guidance of his buddy Jonathan. Now, I know people who know his priest, and they say he's doing this in direct opposition of what they've asked him to do. He's flying solo. He's going renegade here. She's got no oversight other than his buddy Jonathan. So this is ridiculous. Anyway. So you've got Brian Davila interviewing oh gosh, I gotta zoom out so I can actually see. You got Brian Davila interviewing Coptic priests, Catholic priests, calling the Coptic guys Orthodox. He's touring around Voice of Reason to a bunch of different stuff. He's hanging out with see, look, they're all tied together. You see Bryce Crawford in the literal thumbnail here. Protestant talks to Roman Catholic priest for the first time. These guys are all tied together. They're all in the same cliques. Voice of Reason, Brian Davila, Jonathan from Roots of Orthodoxy, all these dudes. It's the same circuit. The same exact circuit. So anyway. Yeah, that was a scandalous video. Lord of mercy. Anyway. So, know better. Know this stuff. Now, granted, I don't personally care if somebody goes on to this dude's show. My thing is, I'm saying, like, this guy and the people that are involved in his, like, grift sphere, like Jonathan, Roots of Orthodoxy or whatever, they should be honest with their titles, thumbnails, and I mean, it's at this point, it's just a grift. It's just a grift, dude. So not a genuine seeker. It does not seem. This is like just a perpetual grifter sphere, perpetual inquirer grifter sphere where they're interviewing Catholic priests, Orthodox priests, or whatever, being mega ecumenists and this type of thing. And then these are the same people that'll come and they'll say that the Orthodox are mean, Orthobros are mean, and all of this other stuff. So, yeah. And again, if some priest or something goes on his show, it doesn't mean they're a bad priest or something, or even like, I was talking to Jay on his show or something. He said he shot something with this guy and he didn't know anything about him or whatever. That's not a big deal. I don't care if Jay goes on Hassan Piker. I don't care what show he goes on. I'm just talking about this guy is not good, right? I mean, I'll go on a show with somebody I completely disagree with and dismantle their stuff. I mean, at a later point when I'm doing debates and that kind of thing. Or even somebody who just wants to have a casual conversation that I disagree with. For instance, I would chat with Gavin Ortland, or I would chat with Redeem Zoomer, or Ish, who's actually in this dude's orbit. He's actually going to be coming on my show, and we're going to have a kind of casual Catholic apologist ranking video that we're going to do. So I don't have an issue if people want to go on his show, but I'm saying this kind of thing is shady, what this dude is doing here. So again, if somebody's watching this, I'm not saying anything bad about anybody who's been on his show or whatever, but I'm saying this activity is sketchy, y'all. Partner with me to reach super chat goal. That's right. That's right. We only need 2 zillion more super chats to reach goal. Actually, it's like 9. 9 more super chats to reach goal. Do you appreciate Catholic news? Do you appreciate me breaking down what's going on in the apologetic sphere? Do you appreciate these videos? Show that appreciation. Partner with me. Let's get these super chats in. I appreciate y'all. Lord of mercy. But anyway. Yeah, I don't care. I like Brian anyway. I think he just made a mistake. Go rewind the video 30 minutes ago and watch the beginning of this segment. This is not a mistake. This is clearly, very clearly not a mistake. This guy says He makes the title Roman Catholic priest versus Orthodox priest. And a month ago, he says, I didn't even know. I didn't even know they were different. I thought it was just Orthodox. That's why he was making the titles that way. He said, I just thought it was Orthodox. I thought they could all take each other's communion. And it's just like they're different flavors of Orthodox. But come to find out, they're actually different churches. Whoa, stop attacking me for this. Please, I was ignorant. And then he makes his thumbnail here, and he makes his title here. Roman Catholic priest versus Orthodox priest. So he doesn't care. He knows it's no longer ignorance.
Now I want to talk about something that was a little bit confusing. So apparently there is a big difference, which I thought was small, between Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox. I legit thought it was just Orthodox and it's all good. They all can take the Eucharist together. There's no beef. But apparently there.
Now that's a good point there, disciple. Yes, Father Lazarus does come out and say, I am a Coptic Orthodox priest. He does come out in these interviews and say this. But in the titles and in the thumbnails, they still just put Orthodox priest. It's the channel's fault most of the time. I don't know if the Bryce Crawford one was his channel's fault because they literally seemed like they didn't know any better, since in the background they put Eastern Orthodox priests and stuff. But I think this is because Jonathan set that up for him. And he said, hey, I got an interview for you with a very popular Orthodox priest. And then he had him on because Bryce probably doesn't know any better. But this is Roots of Orthodoxy's doing. This is Jonathan from Roots of Orthodoxy's doing. He's the same dude that's feeding these guests to this guy. They're all partnered together. So, yes, he does come out and he says, I am a Coptic Orthodox priest in the interview.
There is a big beef between Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox. And I don't know if this is just a thing online, but I did a podcast with Father Lazarus, who is an Oriental Orthodox priest, and got a bunch of negative comments, messages, emails saying that he's not even Orthodox.
Everybody's saying Coptic, Oriental priest, not Orthodox. Tons of comments on here. By the way, I left one of these comments on Bryce Crawford's video. You know who attacked me first? Roots of Grifting. Roots of Grifting. You know who's arguing with people in Agan's video attacking me? Roots of Grifting. He's propping these people up. This guy hates the Orthodox. Roots of Orthodoxy, he hates the Orthodox. He doesn't want anything to do with us. He'll have priests on and bishops on that make him look good. For instance, Roots of Grifting did a video very recently. I'm going to point this out to you because this is disgusting. This guy is, look, I'm normally very charitable, but this guy, Roots of Orthodoxy, he's like scum of the earth. This guy is awful. Check out what he's doing here. And he deserves to be called out for it. Nobody should be supporting this man whatsoever. What's his new channel called? Roots of Faith? Or maybe this was on Roots of Orthodoxy. I'm going to show you something disgusting. Okay. I'm going to show you something disgusting. So he brings on, hold on. I'm going to show you something horrible. If I could find the video, good grief. Was this on? Okay. No. This might have been on Roots of Faith. He's got two channels now, Roots of Faith. Because after he was exposed as a uniate, he made a new channel. Roots of Faith. Was it on this one? Okay. All right. I'm going to show you something. So he will only interview people now, it seems like, Orthodox priests, bishops, so on and so forth, if it can cast a negative light on anybody who's doing anything online. Okay. And again, this is not these people's fault. This is not the priest's fault. This is not the bishop's fault. They have no fault whatsoever in accepting his invitation for going on a show. So I don't want you to take this out of context and say that that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is he is framing questions in these interviews in a very malicious and sneaky way so that he can have ammunition to attack us. Okay. So first off, let me show you this video here. So this was a video that he posted a month ago. And this was after his crash out where he says Orthodox are evil, so on and so forth, and all of this other stuff. So he's got a Ask a Bishop video here. Again, I'm not saying anything bad about his grace. His grace is completely innocent in this. But the way that he's framing these questions here are very evil. Where is the beginning of this question? So he invites this bishop on, and the first, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it because I didn't bookmark this. But the first question that he asks His Grace is, he says, "What do you think about people online that are arguing with people, doing debates, these online people doing this type of thing?" And he says, "Oh, this was a question a viewer sent in. A viewer sent this in to me to ask to you, Your Grace. What do you think about people, these evil people debating online?" And this, so he's framing him. He's framing him. He doesn't know any better. He's framing his Grace to give an answer that he can then use for polemics later. This is ridiculous. And I guarantee he's going to make some kind of response video saying, "I'm attacking this person, His Grace. I'm not doing that at all." But I'm saying he's setting him up. This is ridiculous. Yeah, God bless him. God bless him. So, unfortunate, very unfortunate. So he sets up this whole communication here. Let me see if I can find the actual clip. It might take me a second. Hold on.
Is in place or place there. Elevator.
See if I can find him asking a question.
And this person asks, any advice for Hispanics become?
No. Advice for Hispanics. Was it the first question, or am I remembering this wrong? Here you
go. Who influenced / impacted?
Maybe this was the first question here.
Old calendar. Where they would be. I could probably get on Mount Athos.
Right.
Might not have.
I wish I had this clip bookmarked.
And this person asks, any advice for
Hispanic question? Anyway, I'm sure I could find it. It was one of these where he says, like, what do you think about these like people that are causing issues debating online or something? Anyway, so he'll have them on so long as he can frame it as a polemic against the Orthodox, so on and so forth. So it's very unfortunate. But anyway, yeah, it will be better to find the clip. Yep, I agree. Let me see if I can. Give me just a second. I do want to find it.
Show there's just so much going on that you think, like, how is.
Anyway, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll move on to the next story here. So you get the point. Roots of Grifting and his crew. Roots of Grifting. He does not like the Orthodox community. He's partnering with these other channels. Brian Davila's channel. He's partnering with Agan. He's partnering with all the Copts. He's, basically everybody who he's partnering with. Notice each of these channels are using Orthodox as the term for Copts, for Coptic Orthodox or Oriental Orthodox, quote unquote Orthodox, right? Because they know this will get clips or clicks and massive engagement in the comments from people crashing out over this. So anyway, what does it mean to be Orthodox Catholic, be a part of the church Christ established, the Orthodox Church? Got 2 free rotisserie chicken coupons this week, so don't worry about me. I can afford it. 2. Well, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're 8 super chats away from goal. Help me reach goal. I appreciate it. Would like to give Ben a massive, beautiful icon one day for his wall. Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Let's see. What do we got in the comments? Saint Benjamin of Petrograd. That'll be W rotisserie chicken. So true, so true, so true. All right, I do have more Catholic news stuff to cover. So let me go ahead and dive into that. Give me just a moment. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll pull up the next article here. But Brian Davila, basically big grifting operation. So we've got What have we covered so far? Dogs eating the Eucharist. Oh, yeah, here's another thing about the Sarah Mullally thing. Forgot to cover this. Pope Leo meets with Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullally, encourages Catholics and Anglicans to proclaim Christ to the world together and to work to overcome any differences. So even though, you know, you've got a literal woman archbishop here, you've got a literal woman archbishop here who is pro unaliving babies and all of this other stuff. You still want to work to overcome any differences, no matter how intractable they may appear. You mean like the fact that there is a woman archbishop sitting literally right across from you right now? That might be a big obstacle to overcome, but we're going to work to overcome this anyway. Is this how the Catholics are going to get their women priests in? They're going to finally get their women priests, deacons, bishops, because they're going to come into union with the Church of England. Lord of mercy. And you got all the Pope splainers on X sharing this. It's like, oh, Pope Leo slammed her. Dude, he totally slammed her, bro. Totally insulted her straight to her face. Yeah, I don't think that was the heart of what happened here, buddy. I don't think that's actually what happened here. I think he's saying we got to work to come into visible communion, like he said before. Okay. If he didn't think that was a possibility, he wouldn't be meeting with her, by the way. He's not meeting with the SSPX at all, and they're traditional Catholics. But he is meeting with arch-heretic Mullally here. Do you think he's going to be dropping insults in her presence when he's invited her all the way here, paraded her through the Vatican, let her lead the prayers in the service, all of this other stuff, doing services together, blessing bishops, saying blessings at the bones of St. Peter, and, all this other stuff? No, that's a stretch, dude. That is a big stretch. All right, so, yeah, absolutely nuts. Is Father Ron in the chat? Somebody said he was. Oh, there you go. Truly he is risen. Good to see you, Father Ron. Yeah, W's in the chat for Father Ron. What does the Pope have against the SSPX? He thinks it fosters a schismatic attitude because they're too trad, and Pope Leo is extremely woke. Extremely woke, which is why even though Donald Trump is attacking Pope Leo right now on social media, his approval ratings with Catholics has actually skyrocketed because even the Catholics recognize that Leo is a woke Pope. All right. I thought, Joel, do I want to talk about this? Maybe. Should I talk about the Joel Webbon statement? So Joel Webbon, he's been doing these, you guys let me know if you want to see this. Joel Webbon's been doing these interviews with Nick Fuentes, and he's been having him on the show. But recently, he kind of seems to have some doubts about some of the paths that Nick wants to take, okay? Because Nick has been saying he wants people to vote Democrat in the next election so we don't get a Zionist, okay? So Joel Webbon is saying this is a stupid idea. For those of you that don't know, Joel Webbon, he is a Reformed Baptist pastor, very conservative guy, very anti-Zionist. So he's right on a lot of the social stuff. Just theologically, we'd probably disagree. Yeah, who's Joel Webbon? Yeah, Reformed pastor guy that's been doing interviews with Nick Fuentes. Anyway, he came out and he said, he basically said, this is stupid. Don't vote Democrat in the next election. And look, this is obviously a very nuanced discussion, but I think it's kind of stupid. I think he makes a good point. I think Nick Fuentes' position to vote Democrat in the next election as some kind of payback to the Zionists is a stupid position. I don't support Zionism at all. If you follow my X page, 90% of the posts, I'm like going after Laura Loomer. I'm going after Mark Levin. I'm posting anti-Christian Zionist posts. I'm doing a lot of this kind of polemical argumentation here. I don't think you solve the Zionist problem by voting Democrats in to run your country, by giving the keys to your country over to Democrats. I don't think that works. Okay. Did we forget what happened during the COVID lockdowns? I don't know if you know this. Okay. I used to run back before all of this happened when there was it was another Democrat administration. I literally had a page a long time ago, not that long ago, maybe a decade ago, on Facebook. I had 30 to 40,000 followers on Facebook, right-wing meme page that got blasted for criticizing Zionism. Tons and tons and tons and tons of pages were nuked during the COVID restrictions. Tons of them. Do you forget what it was like living through that? Now, if we allow Democrats to come into power again, we give the keys to our country over to these people. Who do you think these people are going to come after? They're going to be coming after us. They're going to be coming after conservatives. They're going to be coming after the most conservative Christian denomination. They're going to be coming after the Orthodox. So, I mean, these are both evils, right? But if it came between, I don't know, like a Zionist, like Trump administration or something like we have right now, where, look, I'm not in jail for, the kind of stuff that people in the UK would toss you in jail for. People in the UK are tossing people in jail for just commenting on politics, for saying that men can't be women, for this kind of stuff, for saying Skittles people can't actually be married, all the kind of stuff that we say on the show regularly. If I were in the UK, I'd be in prison for this stuff because they don't have any freedom of speech, and they've given the keys over to their country to radical woke leftists. So, yes, Zionism is extremely evil. But is the solution to make our country a hellscape by giving the keys to our country to troons and leftists? I don't necessarily think that's the solution. I think the solution is over time, we build up actual America first candidates and then we put them in power. That's the actual solution. We build up the America first candidates and we put them in power. The solution is not accelerationism, giving our country over to literal demons. So yeah, I'm going to play a little bit of this clip because I think he actually gives some pretty good wisdom on this particular topic. It's kind of long, so I might skip around a little bit.
So they shot and killed Charlie Kirk just a few months back, and a lot of people had some legitimate questions. I was one of those people. Charlie.
Yes, Zionists are also going after Orthodox Christians. So of course they are. But you as a person in America right now, are you important enough for a Zionist to go after and to put in prison right now? Is that happening? Has that happened to me? Does that happen to a lot of these other people? It might happen one day. Absolutely. But you know what is actually happening in these countries where the radical leftists are running them? They are putting random people, Joe Schmo, in prison. You know what happened during COVID when the leftists had power? They were putting freaking moms in jail for not wearing masks. I remember them choking out moms in the middle of the street, choking them until they passed out because they didn't have a freaking mask on. Is that what we want to have happen? I remember when my daughter was in elementary school, okay, and she went to her first Scholastic book fair, and this was under a leftist administration. You know what we had in the school system? You know what we had in the schools? Books teaching elementary school kids about transgender pronouns. You know what? I don't feel like raising my daughter in a liberal hellscape because you have some kind of psycho accelerationist theory that's somehow destroying our country by giving insane troons the keys to our country is going to fix things. Tell me logically, what does that solve? Tell me logically, what does that solve at all? Now, granted, I don't think we should have Zionists in office either. That's why I'm saying we need to raise up a new class of politician to go and take power that way. You don't solve this by giving a freaking Kamala Harris the office. This is stupid. You got to be able to, as this guy says very clearly, and I think rightly, you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. This is the same thing as the people who are saying, like, we got to partner with Muslims. Like, we got to partner with Muslims against the Zionists. Muslim Christian super PAC. Come on, guys. You're falling for this, like, stupid psyop, this false dialectic.
Kirk was objectively souring on the nation state of Israel, at least the current Israeli government, Bibi Netanyahu, and he was very explicit in no uncertain terms about his lack of support and downright opposition to the idea of the United States fighting a war.
Now, what I am for, though, again, I've always been against Zionism. I've always been against Christian Zionism. It's not a change for me at all. This is something I've always spoken out against. But I do think what would be helpful is not allowing any politician to have dual citizenship. I think we do need that.
Against Iran, especially fighting a war on behalf of a foreign government that doesn't interest or benefit our people here in America whatsoever. And so to raise the question of, well, could there be some ulterior motives? Maybe it was Tyler Robinson, but maybe he wasn't acting completely alone and someone else was putting him up to it. Indirect fashion, some kind of Israeli interest may have been involved when it comes to.
Let me skip forward a little bit because he's just setting up like valid complaints.
In the bottom of the ninth, and proves, in the final hour of his second administration, that he really was playing 5D chess and he really had a plan and all the plan trusters were right and all these kinds of. Regardless, we are quickly going to be entering a post-Trump era for the political right. Trump is 157 years old. Right? You can't be president these days unless you're a geriatric, person with, some form.
No, not a coincidence at all. This is actually a part of the Zionist plan. This is why I said this to Dan Blazarian, or is that his name? Is that guy's name? Dan Blazarian? Anyway, I think that's that guy's name. The dude that's running for Congress right now against Randy Fine. This dude is pro-Muslim. But he's anti-Zionist, but he's pro-Muslim. Is that the dude's name? Anyway, I said this to him. I said, look, voting for a pro-Muslim candidate is the same thing as voting for a pro-Zionist candidate because it's part and parcel of the same problem. The Zionists want the Greater Israel Project. So as they're pushing against and they're clearing out these territories in Gaza and these other places, Syria, soon to be, they'll try to be doing this in Turkey. They'll try to be doing this in Saudi. They'll be doing this all over the place because they want to push forth the Greater Israel Project. Where do all those people go? Well, you know what they do? They lobby for candidates to allow them to place these migrants in European countries so that the NATO allied countries can't actually push back on their agenda once they catch up to what's going on here. So it's a weaken your neighbor's strategy with mass migration. This is something that our own Orthodox elders have spoken on. So this isn't just me talking out of my butt. I'll see if I can find that clip and I'll play that. But mass migration of Islamists is a Zionist ploy. So to be pro-Islam, to be pro-Muslim and all of this stuff, if you're a pro-Islam candidate, it's the same thing as voting for a Zionist. This is the same thing. Voting for Mamdani is the same thing as voting for a Zionist candidate. This is what people don't understand. Is, you're either pro-Muslim or you're pro-Zionist. This stupid false dialectic. When for the Zionists, they don't care if you're pro either of them because they both play into their plan. So does Fuentes also not know the liberals he want people to vote for are also Zionists? Some of them might be. I don't know if you'd have to tell me a specific candidate. Some of them might be. Most of them are probably anti-Israel for different reasons, though. They're anti-Israel because they're pro-Islam. So they're both feeding into the same system.
Form of early onset dementia. So Trump is going to die. He's not going to get a third term. That's not going to happen, guys. We need to be honest. And so there's going to be post-Trump, right? In the same way that MAGA eclipsed the neocons, something is going to replace MAGA. It is. And I think, I'm hopeful, praying and working towards that being an America first, Christ is king, new Christian right. That's what I'm hoping. But that new Christian right, that America first party, I will not take part in it if they are determined to be retarded. This is what I mean by that. You can say, I think Israel might have been indirectly involved somehow with Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk was a major figure on the right. And if Charlie Kirk soured on Israel, even if he still loved, Israeli people in general and Jewish people in general, and still held to his bad, dispensational Zionist theology, just him souring on Israeli government and on Bibi Netanyahu and being against a war in Iran, clearing the board in the Middle East for an Israeli hegemony, that still isn't good for those powers at be for Jewish supremacy. And so there's some ulterior incentive for them to try to get rid of Charlie Kirk. That's fine. That's fine.
Let's skip forward a little bit.
You can say for Israel, right? That lane, I'm going to admit publicly, in the state of Israel, buried 6 feet underground. See, there is our deranged leftists.
There you go. This is the key. This is the key important part here. And then after this, I'm going to play a video of the elder actually saying the same thing I said about Zionism leading to mass migration of Muslims.
And also, here's the hard part. Half of our countrymen are deranged leftists who hate you, and they want your wife and children and you buried 6 feet underground. See, there is a subtle comfort and consolation that comes with thinking that the only real evil in the world is Mossad. Because you and I are not high enough targets to really ever garner the anger and the threat of such an enemy.
At least for now. At least for now. If Byron Donalds wins the Florida governor election, he's going to pass anti-Semitism laws, and I'll be in jail. That's just the way it is. Show will be over. I'll be in prison. But at least for now, yeah, that's it. Because what Byron Donalds puts forth as basically law is he wants to conflate anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism, and he wants to make it hate speech to criticize the nation state of Israel. He's partnering with AI firms to make sure that they scan people's social media, and then it's going to be a liberal hellscape, or I guess in this case, pseudo-conservative hellscape, just like the UK is now, where they'll put you in prison for criticizing Muslims and this kind of stuff. So,
but if there's another enemy, a domestic enemy, your next door neighbor, in this house, we love sodomites and stand for chopping off little boys' genitals, like that sign, and there you are. If your neighbor is also an enemy, half of your countrymen are deranged, hate Christ, hate your values, hate your virtues, hate your family. That's actually, in many ways, that's the kind of fear that keeps you up at night, because that person actually will just stab you on a train. That person actually will try to ruin your life. You don't have to be a high public figure. You don't have.
A lot of you guys don't remember this because you weren't super active during this time period on social media, running any kind of account. But this is absolutely true. They were getting accounts shut down. They were getting people fired from their jobs just for saying that, like, a man can't marry a woman. This was how our country was not that long ago. Is this what you really want to go back to?
To be Charlie Kirk, to be a threat to that deranged lunatic, if that deranged lunatic makes up 50% of your country. And so America first, whatever it's going to be, it's got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. It's got to not tolerate whatsoever, be adamantly against and demolish Jewish supremacy and Jewish influence in our American government and theologically in our churches. With dispensational Zionism, it has to die with the boomers. And that America First, Christ is King movement at the same time also has to be willing to say that deranged leftists who hate our values, our virtues, our families, and our Savior, they hate Jesus Christ, that they are not our friends. They can never be on our team. They can't. They are a domestic enemy, and we are at war We are at war. And so if America First is going to be a viable candidate to replace MAGA, it can't be retarded. It has to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Mossad, Jewish supremacy, Israeli intelligence, Bibi.
You get the point. So stop falling for this stupid false dialectic that people like Nick Fuentes is putting out there, saying that, well, you know what, since the conservative party is obviously subverted by Zionists, this means we need to basically burn it all down and vote for some kind of deranged liberal to run our entire nation in the next election as some kind of like haha payback to Trump selling us out to Israel. No, you can actually be anti-both. You can actually be anti-both. What we should be doing is raising up candidates that actually have Christian values that will not sell us out to the nation state of Israel. The answer is not voting for some deranged liberal lunatic who's going to try to psyop your kids in public school into transitioning or something like this. That's not the option, people. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people have been so brain blasted by all of the rhetoric lately. That's probably what's going to happen. I think the next election, a deranged liberal is going to win, and then we're going to live in a hellscape here. Anyway, let me share this clip from elder talking about how Islamic migrants are basically just an extension of Zionist plans. So this is Orthodox elder here.
Ένας δημοσιογράφος. Γιατί πάνε ρωτάτε, δεν έρχονται από αυτούς τους μετανάστες, που δεν είναι μετανάστες, ούτε οικονομικοί μετανάστες, είναι εισβολή αυτό που γίνεται αυτή τη στιγμή στην Ευρώπη, σχεδιασμένη από τη νέα τάξη πραγμάτων για να ανακατώσει τους πληθυσμούς της Ευρώπης, να προκύψει ένας καινούριος πληθυσμός που να έχει ανάγκη, προσέξτε το τελευταίο, μια καινούρια θρησκεία. Μια πανθρησκεία. Αυτό είναι σχέδιο παλαιών, σιωνιστικό, το οποίο τώρα εφαρμόζεται και θα επιμένουν να το εφαρμόσουν. Ούτε και με τα γεγονότα της Γαλλίας θα λυγίσουν, διότι υπάρχουν μυστικές δυνάμεις πέρα από τις εθνικές κυβερνήσεις που προωθούν αυτά τα σχέδια. Προηγήθηκε ο ηθικός πόλεμος σε όλον τον ντουνιά και ανατράπει ο ηθικός κώδικας της χριστιανοσύνης. Σήμερα οι άντρες γίνονται γυναίκες, οι γυναίκες γίνονται άντρες. Όλοι ξέρετε τα σύμφωνα συμβίωσης, τις υιοθεσίες τις περίεργες, τους περίεργους γάμους. Μετά ήρθε ο οικονομικός πόλεμος. Έγινε ο νους της γυναίκας, μετά έγινε ο νους των παιδιών μας, των εγγονιών μας. Και τώρα σου λέει πρέπει να γύρουμε και τον νου των παπάδων και των δεσποτάδων.
So you see here, Zog, the leftists, the mass Muslim migration, this is all part of the same geopolitical ploy. Voting for any one of those three blocks, you're basically voting for the Zionist agenda. It's pretty much it. So you want to play right into the hands of the Zionists? That's exactly how you do it. You vote either leftists, you vote for explicitly Zionist candidate, you vote for an Islamic candidate. It's all the same thing. They're just downstream effects of the same organization pushing for the same goal. So really the only way forward, and people don't like this because this is difficult. This is the difficult part, is to actually have true America First candidates rise up and to put them in power that won't bend the knee to Zionist agenda. That's the only way out. It's the hardest way. It's the only way out, though. Every other path, dead end. Horrible, horrible future for the United States. So, yeah, well, I'll definitely be voting for Fishback in the primary. If Byron Donalds wins, that's the end of the show here. Yeah, Joel Webbon, he's my mutual. Joe Webbon's my mutual on X right now. He just followed me recently because I commented on that same video. I think he was absolutely right. I think he's absolutely 100% right in what he stated there. And anybody who's saying otherwise, you guys need to stop freaking listening to them, because they're going to just try to burn this country down. I get it. I'm mad. I am mad about the Zionist situation right now as well. The solution isn't to burn the country down by putting some kind of rabid leftists in office. Anyway, let's get on to some lighter topics. I'm going to dive into a couple more things and then we'll wrap up. Help me reach the super chat goal before we wrap up here. It'll encourage me to do more of these Catholic news streams, but that's kind of how I know if you guys are liking this stuff or not. Your likes, your comments, and all of that kind of stuff too. All right, so you got party priest going on here. So this is your Reverend Novus Ordo. First off, notice this in the background. You got the two altar girls, so you already know it's going to be good. This is them trying to appeal to the younger crowd here, which never works well. That's just the epitome of masculinity. Imagine, all right, look, let's posit this, if you will. You are a freshly converted Roman Catholic. You just left Protestantism. You abandoned your entire friends, all the people at your previous church. You uprooted your entire life. You made the social media post. It got 2 zillion impressions on X. You said, I'm leaving Protestantism to become Catholic. It's the true church. It is truly, I've become convinced. Somebody told me about the real presence, so I knew I had to be Catholic. And this is like your first, this is like your first mass you go to with the yippee priest. He's just jumping around. Yippee, yippee, yippee. This is what's going on. So based and trad, dude. It's over. Pack up your bags. Good grief, dude. But this is what it's actually like. You go to most of the Novus Ordo parishes. This is exactly what you're going to be greeted with. Dancing priest, very effeminate situations and things like this. Or you'll be greeted with stuff like this. One cannot say this often enough. There's a state of crisis in the church, yet Rome is acting otherwise. Father Oscar, founder of the Pentecostal conservative Gaspa Mira Retreat Center in Brazil. And this is your Pentecostal Catholic mass here. he's freaking diving. He's freaking doing a stage dive into the crowd here. Dude, I just became convinced about Roman Catholicism. I go to my first mass, the priest freaking dives on me. Oh my gosh, bro. Hold on. Oh, there's an Instagram reel. All right, hold on. I gotta take a look at this. Here you go. So here's this dude. And he freaking goes for it. What is going on, bro? Everybody got their phones out. The priest just dove into the crowd. Protestant church is kind of like a rock concert. The reason I left Protestantism for Roman Catholicism is it's kind of like a rock concert. You go in there and they have music and they're playing, like they've got the lights and stuff. You don't see, the Catholic Mass doesn't seem like a rock concert at all. We just have priests diving into stage dives. Lord have mercy. A lot of people don't know about the Catholic charismatic movement stuff. They're absolutely insane. They do the craziest stuff in their churches all the time. It's not even like uncommon at all. Here's another example of this. Pretty crazy. This isn't Catholic charismatic stuff, but you've got women serving and preaching the Mass, saying the homilies in Mass. Why women could come to the rescue of Spain's Catholic Church. Africa de la Cruz delivers mass in the church of whatever in Segovia. So let's take a look at this article here. So you got women preaching the mass, doing the service in the Catholic Church. So let's take a look at this article talking about this particular situation here. Why women could come to the rescue of Spain's Catholic Church. With a lack of priests in local parishes, female deacons could provide the solution. So she's already serving kind of as a deacon in all but name. So she's doing the entire service. She's doing for what we would call a reader's typica. She's doing the equivalent, but look, she's got the Eucharist in this picture. So how is she giving the Eucharist at a reader's service? That does not make sense. Anyway, maybe she's doing the entire service by herself. Lord have mercy. So they have no priest. They just got this lady doing this. Wow. As enthusiastic as any prophet, Africa, what a weird way to word that. Africa de la Cruz delivers mass every Sunday. She delivers mass every single Sunday, as well as on religious holidays for a clutch of villages near Segovia. A former professor of psychology at the University of Madrid, she is now over 70 and is both optimistic and skeptical about the commotion caused by Pope Francis' decision to create a community to study the role of women, maybe even female deacons. Young people have left the church without so much as slamming a door, and we haven't taken note. In the 19th century, the Catholic Church was a blah, 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 blah. Deacon's normally a man, either single or married, who's authorized by the church or whatever. The ceremony celebrated by De La Cruz, officially known as the Liturgy of the Word because it is not a mass proper, similar to a mass of an ordained priest, except the bread has not been blessed by her. The rest of the liturgy, so it's pre-blessed. So a priest blesses the Eucharist, and then she's there just doing the motions. That's odd. So she's still giving the Eucharist to people. So you've got this woman running the church basically by herself, and she's getting consecrated bread, the consecrated communion sent to her, and then she's then giving it to people. Wow. 41 churchgoers at this church are grateful to her stepping up to the plate. Without her, they would not have been able to take mass on the religious holiday of the Virgin Grande. During the Franco regime, it was considered a deadly sin not to go to mass on Sundays. Nowadays, the church doesn't have enough priests to go around, so they got this woman doing the mass. Interesting. So anyway, so you've got this woman. She's preaching the homily. She's doing the entire mass by herself. She's having consecrated communion bread sent to her. So a priest is blessing this. They're sending it to her. She's still offering the Eucharist on Sundays. This woman all by herself is running the entire church. They don't have like a single man. They don't have a single guy at all in this church that could do this. None. No one. They're just allowing. No, this is some woke thing. You've got some lady here, Karen from the parish council, that is doing this. And it's not a small church. Look at the background. Massive. Crazy, dude. Anyway. So you've got basically women playing priests because there's not enough priests in the Catholic Church. Nuts. Is this not shocking to you guys? Is this just like normal now? Has this just become completely normal? I feel like the Catholic Church right now is just complete clown world. None of this is shocking to me anymore. Thank you, Colin, for the $5. I appreciate it. Nem TV with the $5. Glory to God. How close are we to goal? Only 5 more super chats to goal. Help me reach the goal, y'all. Come on now. If y'all appreciate the show, show me some love. All right. Oh, here you go. There's the dancing women. Okay, let's take a look at this. This was the backdrop to the altar during Lent in the Jesuit church in Vienna, 2026. Modern Jesuits doing a parody of religion. So this is their reverent altar pieces here. They've just got like weird phallic looking things with googly eyes. Nuts. Absolutely insane. Similar here, another weird one. They've got the airplane mass. So they got a giant airplane in the middle of mass. So you got whale mass, you've got airplane mass, you got googly eye mass, you got goo monster, alien, Jesus mass, circus mass, clown mass, all kinds of masses. Whatever you're into. You like trains? We'll have a giant train in the middle of mass. You got dog mass, dogs coming in and even participating in the Eucharist. You got female fake priest mass where she's preaching the homily. It's just I mean, anything you want. You know, you want to be Roman Catholic, you get whatever you like. You want a Halo mass, you want a gaming mass, you got hockey mass going on. Anything you like. You like hockey? We got hockey mass, dude. You've got speech bubble, text message mass. So you got the speech bubbles here over the altar, all this kind of insanity. Absolutely nuts. And this has just become normal. Here's another one. You got socks, hanging up pictures of socks behind the altar, some kind of weird modern art piece of just socks. You've got a stretched out rabbit mass. No, this is not AI. Stretched out rabbit mass. Yeah, this is real. You can Google this. Yeah, for real. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. All right, stop spamming that or I'm banning you from the chat. You can go and look this up. Stretched out rabbit mass, socks mass, all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Googly eye mass. This is all normal. I mean, we see this time and time again. I don't know if you remember the first time that I did this series. The first episode I did was on one of these insane art pieces here. And I'll pull this up again. I think I have this bookmarked. But it was a pig's heart in a contraceptive device as a art piece. Yeah, here you go. This was one of the first things I covered in this show here. So these kind of weird art pieces are nothing new. So Bishop in Germany hung up this giant art piece of a pig, his pig's heart wrapped in a condom over the altar. So these kind of weird art pieces over the altar are not new. They do this all the time, especially in Germany. They do this whole weird, like artistic, weird nonsense stuff. There was a show, some kind of museum thing that was going on. They had a crucified green frog on display. They had a Troon Virgin Mary. And the same bishop that approved this said it was like a most beautiful, beautiful art. Describes the beautifulness of whatever. So this is all yeah, kind of common. This happens all the time. Another thing about Marx here, the guy that the Pope was arguing with, he is extremely corrupt. He makes tons and tons and tons of money to share his woke nonsense. So Cardinal Marx makes more money than corporate execs, all funded by billions in public money. So when we're saying that these people make money from mass migration and things like this, the Catholic Church is promoting mass migration and the bishops are all making money on this. Even Catholic insiders are stating this kind of stuff. Watch the last episode of Catholic News. We play a segment where a woman actually breaks down and exposes this. We've actually shown this, though. You can look at the USCCB's website. They claim the same thing. They make a lot of money through migration. So anyway, so this particular gentleman makes 14,000 euros a month. So this bishop makes 14,000 euros a month. He makes more than most executives. So they're paid tons and tons and tons of money to welcome in all these migrants, to push for Skittles weddings, for all of this stuff. And it's all like public funding. This is like funded by the state type stuff. This is not just like your tithes. They're not getting paid this from the church. So anyway. Yeah, I mean, no surprise this guy's completely corrupt. But anyway, let's get back into the news here. There's lots of these weird art pieces. What else do I got? Oh, yeah, I thought this was kind of funny. I'll show this interaction I had with Solar Requiem. All right, here you go. Solar Requiem says, so I say, I made this post here. It said, vast majority of Catholic medieval women saints were severely spiritually deluded, which is true. A lot of them suffer from severe prelust. If you were to read any of their writings, like I have, when I was a Protestant YouTuber, I went through several of these writings. I went through Sister Faustina's diary. We went through Saint Catherine of Siena's writings. We went through Saint Hildegard von Bingen's writings, her writings on gemstones and all this other stuff. A lot of these people are severely spiritually deluded. As a matter of fact, Sister Faustina's writings were actually banned initially by the Vatican because they were so severely deluded. The cope response to this is people will say, oh, well, you know, it was a translation error. Then when we got the real translation, we unbanned her writings in the devotion. No, that's not the case. John Paul II was a mega fan of of Faustina. So he made her a saint. He unbanned her writing. And now you have the Divine Mercy Chaplet, even though her writings are absolutely insane. But today we're going to be talking about Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque. Okay. So Solar Requiem posts this. He says, you have a post-schism medieval saint who believes baptism by air is valid. I'd sit this one out if I were you. So, of course, I respond with just really well-known stuff that these women histrionic saints have gotten up to. This is a post on Reddit here, but there's an actual post with the citations for these accounts that I'm going to go through in just a second. This is just somebody talking about it. So he says, I've been reading about the saints, and when reading about Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, was given revelation of the devotion to the Sacred Heart. So this is where the Sacred Heart devotion comes from, by the way. It was said that in her autobiography is an account of when, after she became a nun, because of mortification of the flesh, she actually ate another sister's vomit and the feces of someone with dysentery. So this woman Catholic saint, where you get the Sacred Heart devotion, she's eating the vomit of sick nuns and eating their poop. So she's a poop-eating, vomit-eating saint, severely spiritually deluded. The response to this was some saints did really extreme mortifications to humble themselves down to the level of dirt. Supposedly, St. Catherine of Siena sucked the pus from the chesticles of a woman with cancer and stated she'd never eaten anything more delicious. These are the Roman Catholic saints, by the way. Each of these people, well, is Alacoque canonized post-Vatican II? I know Catherine of Siena, I think, was. A lot of them were JP2 and onward innovations, but they existed a lot earlier than that, by the way. St. Catherine of Siena, saint, by the way, not a real saint. Okay, these women histrionic saints said absolutely insane stuff. So Mary Alacoque is eating puke and poop, literally. St. Catherine of Siena sucking pus, eating pus. Disgusting. All right, so Number one sinner, Cleve, you convinced me right now and here I will not become a Roman Catholic. Glory to God. Massive bullet dodged. Anyway. So Solar Requiem says, your source is Reddit and you call yourself an EO content creator. My brother in Christ, we both hold to pre-schism saints who slayed dragons. He's talking about St. George, gave communion to mermaids, apocryphal tales to basically give you a moral story. But here you go. So here's Marcus Hill coming in with the screenshots of the actual text here. Life of St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, Order of Visitation of Holy Mary. It's literally talking about her eating vomit. Where's the part here? Because this is in her own writings. Was it in the first page? I'll give my heart. Let me find this part. Hold on. I'm sorry. Give me just a second. Sorry. I don't have it memorized which section this was in. I wish you would highlight it. Okay. Yeah, here you go. All right. So talking about Margaret Mary Alacoque's self-mortification, this is from her own diary. Two examples have remained more especially characteristic, or her own diary. Is this her diary? No, this isn't. This is like a biography. Life of Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque. So this isn't her diary. This is a biography about her. Two examples remain more especially characteristic and surpass by far anything one could imagine. At that time, the humble sister was again assistant in the infirmary. So Mary Alacoque was serving in the infirmary. I was so excessively dainty, she writes, that the least want of cleanliness caused me to vomit. There is nothing astounding, it may be said, in that. Nevertheless, it must be remembered that the sovereign master is full of divine severity for his elect. He reproached his generous disciple so severely for this instinctive movement of aversion that in order to punish herself, and without waiting to consult reason, she spontaneously swallowed what a sick sister whom she was tending had just vomited. So she was tending to a sick nun who threw up, and she immediately, like a ravenous beast, consumed all this lady's vomit. In this circumstance, she was urged on by the impetuosity of her love for our Lord, which made everything appear expedient to her. Had I 1,000 bodies, so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. Let's see, does this one talk about... Yeah, anyway, so that's the one. That's the one instance. So this was the creator of the Sacred Heart devotion. Again, the post-Vatican II, well, even pre-Vatican II, but the histrionic women saints of the Roman Catholic Church severely diluted. Again, Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, the creator of the Sacred Heart devotion, is known as she was so severely deluded that she ate a nun's vomit and her poop. Saint Catherine Siena sucked the pus from the breast of a woman with cancer and said it was delicious. Saint Catherine of Siena also said that she had a vision where she received a wedding ring made of the foreskin of Jesus. The author of the Divine Mercy Chaplet, I'll just say this from memory, but this is in her diary. You can go look this up too. Basically, Jesus said, I would destroy, in her vision, she had a vision of Jesus about the divine mercy, painted it, and then she said Jesus told her to go and spread the word of this devotion, have everybody do it because you're like so special and all this stuff. Anyway, it said that Jesus said she's like a sweet grape. His like love or whatever. He's going to like share the juice that's within her to the entire world. It's all like her, like elevating her. And what else did he say? He said the apparition, rather, it's not actually Jesus, but her spiritual delusion, said that, oh, if you only desired it, I would destroy the entire world and remake it just for you. So, I mean, this is very common, the delusion of these histrionic women saints. There's another one, Saint Hildegard von Bingen, who I have her text, the Physica. I have an e-copy of it, an Apple Books. But there's a section on gems. There's a whole bunch of insane stuff in this book, by the way. I have an old video going through Hildegard von Bingen. Basically, she's like a New Age witch, but a medieval New Age witch. And she says things like, you know, God revealed to her. All these things are like stuff that she claims Jesus revealed to her in visions. And really where this all stems from is the Roman Catholics kind of moved away from the historic practice of monasticism, which is not to envision things in your mind, but rather to try to experience the uncreated light through the Jesus prayer and through hesychastic prayer. They're more imaginative. So this opens them up to all sorts of delusions. The Roman Catholics, their entire like prayer system focuses on, well, picture Christ on the cross, picture the nails going into his skin, picture the crown of thorns piercing his head, and all of these other things. You got to picture these things. So when these women are locked up for long periods of time and they're spending a long time in prayer and fasting and self-mortification, whipping themselves, these kinds of things, because they feel when they do the self-mortification, they think this is like paying off temporal debt of their sins. Basically, they're like paying this off. They're like whipping themselves. So when you have this practice of imaginative prayer and all those other things kind of tied into it, then you end up with like Saint Hildegard von Bingen, Roman Catholic histrionic woman saint, saying, well, if a guy's in love with you and you want him not to be in love with you, then you take a sapphire and you pour wine over it 3 times and you say this magic spell. And then if you get him to drink it, whether he knows it or not that he's drinking it, then he's going to fall out of love with you. Or if you take an agate, which is a stone, and you carry it in the shape of a cross throughout your house, this is going to keep robbers from breaking in and stealing your stuff. Or if you carry ferns with you, the devil's afraid of ferns. Ferns have like a juice in them that the devil's afraid of. And the devil can't practice his magic if you have ferns on you. Or diamonds. That was another one she said. Diamonds, the devil's afraid of diamonds. All this kind of stuff. So you get the end result of all this stuff is you get the creator of the most prominent. By the way, these are the most prominent Roman Catholic devotions, by the way. This is the Sacred Heart. This is what Roman Catholics across the world are praying. They're doing devotions to the Sacred Heart all the time. Literally all the time. And where do they get this devotion from? A vision of a woman that was so spiritually deluded that when a woman she was tending that was very sick, and a nun that she was tending was very sick and threw up, she, like a ravenous dog, went over and swallowed her vomit. And you think she's like so spiritually wise, you're going to like spend your life doing this devotion to the Sacred Heart that she came up with because of a vision she had? The same entity that supposedly led her to swallow the vomit of nuns inspired this devotion. I mean, I'll let you make your own conclusions about that. She's eating people's poop. I don't know, dude. That's not good. Or St. Catherine of Siena, sucking the pus. You get the point. I need to say it over and over again. But these are the people who they invented the devotions that many Roman Catholics use today. Divine Mercy, it literally has its own holiday. And it's one of the most widely used devotions ever. And she was very obviously super spiritually deluded. But this is the basis for Roman Catholic practice. It's insane. Zionist Catholics and Muslims all in alliance to import migrants because they worship the same God. Very true. I mean, well, it is all the same. They're all different sides of the same coin. So the Zionists, what they want, the Greater Israel Project. The Roman Catholics, they've been subverted by Freemasons and these other groups. Freemasonry, they say this Freemasonry is another side of the same coin, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but Kabbalists will actually call Freemasonry Kabbalism for the Gentiles. So Freemasonry is just Jewish Kabbalism, but for the non-Jews, basically. So if the Roman Catholics are subverted by Freemasons, in all actuality, this is a subversion by Kabbalist forces, which very obviously has ties to Zionism. So these are all the same side of the same coin, or different sides of the same coin. Could create with me too. You think Cardinal Vigano will be reinstated anywhere again? No, not at all. His Trump letters were prescient. I sent his letters out and people said I was crazy. No, he's not going to be reinstated. No way. If you watch the show enough, you'll see the kind of people that are getting promotions in the Roman Catholic Church today. And it is not those who are trad. They're getting forced out. It's people who support Skittles stuff. It's people who want to give Skittles people the Eucharist. It's people who want mass migration. It's people who are willing to toe the woke liberal line that Leo has been pushing. So no, I don't think any of the ex-priests or, excommunicated priests are going to be welcomed back in within the fold. James Altman's definitely, Father James Altman's definitely not being welcomed back in. He's been calling Leo the Antichrist. So, I mean, that's what a lot of these guys are doing, right? So, yeah, Kabbalism is the coin, right? So anyway, yeah, super key to know. If you want to read any of these texts, you can go and check out Sister Faustina's diary to see what she has to say in the inspiration of her Divine Mercy chaplet. She also was inspired by this apparition to paint the famous painting you see of Jesus with the red and blue light shining from his chest. That's a Divine Mercy painting. She says that Jesus came to her and showed her how to paint this thing. Fun fact about Sister Faustina, everybody in her nunnery thought she was insane. Her superiors thought she was absolutely freaking nuts. Maybe you guys should have believed them. This devotion was banned initially. By the way, that's one of my best performing shorts on this platform, was a short that I made maybe a year and a half ago about this devotion from I made a longer video on Sister Faustina stuff. So if you want to check that out, it's an old video. But it's like when I was first starting the channel. It was like Divine Mercy, Dark History of Divine Mercy Chaplet or something. Okay, you can go check out this video. But one of the best performing shorts has got like, I don't know, 200 something thousand views on this thing. But it was basically talking about the Divine Mercy, talking about Sister Faustina, and saying that it was banned. It was banned initially. The reason it performed so well was an accident, by the way, because Roman Catholics can't read. They can't read what's going on in the background. So in this short, they're like, it's not banned now. It didn't just get banned. You're a liar. You're lying. No, it was banned a long time ago. They unbanned it. The date's literally in the background of the short, but it was like a complete accident. This thing blew up because people can't read. So it's funny. Yeah. Joe, Mr. Spider-Man says, that's not true. I've read the entire diary. Well, you might want to read it again because it is all in there, my friend. Now, there are some modern versions where they've edited some things, but yeah, I would certainly check out that video if you're unaware. But anyway, so yeah, Mary Alacoque and all this, absolutely insane. Where are we at with the cool? Only 3 more super chats to goal. Help me reach goal on this show if you're appreciative of the information being shared here, because not a lot of people talk about this stuff. The women histrionic saints and all of this stuff going on in the Roman Catholic Church. Almost nobody's aware, it seems like. People will share this information, but it's normally like sedevacantists. Nobody's really looking at it from a super critical angle. It's mostly those that are saying like, they're like sedes. Here's this one. 17 bishops have attended conferences organized by Heretical New Ways Ministry, a report says. New Ways is a pro-Skittles organization. So they're basically pro-Skittles activists. 17 bishops have attended the conferences organized by Heretical New Ways Ministry, report says. New Ways Ministry seeks to radically alter and even abolish longstanding church teaching on immorality, Skittles acts, and transformerism. So that's what this ministry stands for. 17 Roman Catholic bishops have attended their conferences. 17 American bishops have attended the conferences, yada, yada, yada. A dissident pro-Skittles group presenting itself as Catholic. And they say this organization's been condemned by the Vatican, but bishops are still attending anyway and getting their cues from these groups. The Heterodox National Catholic Reporter shared in a Wednesday article that 17 bishops attended programs on the so-called Skittles Catholics held by New Ways Ministries, with many more attending more than one conference. As LifeSite News has reported for many years, New Ways Ministries does not seek to help Catholics struggling with SSA or gender confusion live chaste holy lives, but rather it's striving to normalize the Skittles agenda in the church by radically altering and even abolishing long-established church teaching on the immorality of Skittles acts, transformerism, you're basically becoming a transformer, and a range of any other behavior such as that. The conferences referenced by the NCR article reportedly covered a variety of topics, including moral theology, psychological understandings of gender, and perhaps most important, the positive and negative encounters that Skittles people have with the institutional church. The last point, understand in the light of NWM's heretical understanding of Skittles and gender, may reasonably be inferred to consider a church's condemnation of Skittles activity per Catholic teaching as a negative encounter. The NCR's article also indicated the organization believes, contrary to Catholic teaching, the disordered Skittles attraction is a core part of a person's identity. So people are born this way. This is something you can't change. This is essential to your person. And that priests and nuns in particular should be able to identify as Skittles. So priests and nuns should be able to come out of the closet. Bishops listened with deep attention to personal stories from Skittles priests and Skittles nuns who shared how it felt to serve the church while receiving negative messages about their very beings. This is all clergy coming out and saying, the church was mean to me, and they said this was a sin. I should be able to be who God made me, as the German bishops affirm, by the way. So anyway, in fact, the Vatican has twice definitively declared a prohibition on ordaining Skittles men. Yeah, they backtracked on that recently, though. They backtracked on that recently. First was 1961. Yeah, they're living in the past. The second was 2005, living in the past. Yeah, they backtracked on that. You got to get up to date, LifeSite. See, this is the problem, though. A lot of these like Roman Catholic sources or whatever, even the apologists, they're trying to defend a faith from 50 years ago. They're trying to defend a faith from even 20 years ago. It doesn't exist anymore. The church, the Roman Catholic Church has changed so much, even in 20 years. It's remarkable. There's people that are trying to defend a church that existed 300 years ago. It no longer exists. The Roman Catholic Church is so rapidly developing, it isn't even close to what it was even 20 years ago. So they've backtracked on this, by the way. They said that is no longer something that prevents somebody from becoming a priest. This was something that was in a J. Dyer and Pine Sap discussion, actually. And I put this little funny edit together. Let me see if I can find it. Here you go. This was the topic of debate here.
That gay priests are to be put to death, and the Vatican bishops in Italy just said that gay priests can be gay, openly gay people can become priests. Is that a contradiction?
Actually, Pope Francis said that gay priests should not enter the clergy.
Notice he's citing this 2005 thing. They're not up to date with this. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't actually follow. They plug their ears and close their eyes and don't listen to the Catholic news stuff. That's why when people actually watch the reporting, like here today, these people are like, I didn't even know my church taught that.
This headline clipping belongs to TMZ, bro. This belongs to TMZ. Are you kidding me?
Italian bishops.
I'm not going to believe anything you say, Jay. You do this all the time, bro. So what?
Yeah, NCR. Vatican approves documents allowing Skittles men to become priests in Italy. A new document by the Italian Bishops' Conference saying being openly Skittles no longer bars candidates from discerning the priesthood.
You say what you go is you say, oh, okay, these gay bishops are allowed, or these gay priests are allowed. The Italian Bishops' Conference, dude. Okay, let me say for a moment. Let me say you're not lying. Let me grant for a moment that you're not lying, which you most certainly are. Even if I was to grant, even if I was to grant, even if I was to grant that a bishops' conference said something cringe, how does that disprove the church?
Notice that's always the go-to at the end. How do all these scandals disprove the church? Well, it's like, sometimes I'm just reporting on scandals. Like sometimes we're just reporting the news. Why does every scandal have to be a kill shot? No, it's all these things added up. Just tossing another thing onto the pile, buddy. So anyway, yeah, this is I remember I had that clip in there because I have like a zillion of these articles saved. Yeah. Vatican approves documents allowing Skittles men to become priests in Italy. So LifeSite News, got to get up to date. Got to get up to date in your reporting, dog. Anyway. And I'm sure this has changed too. I haven't looked into it. But if there's tons and tons of bishops attending these meetings, it's obviously some sort of approval given to it. Anyway, so there's that. Very interesting. Yeah, Jay's former Roman Catholic, mocking someone for telling the truth. That's usually how it is, to be honest. All right, I'm going to go over a couple more, and then we're going to wrap up here. Help me reach super chat goal. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to dive into last couple of articles that I have saved here. Hold on, I got to remove the pine sap filter. So I had a couple more news articles saved here that I think will be interesting to look into. Do I want to cover? I try not to cover like abuse scandals because they're too disgusting. 17 bishops. Oh, here you go. This will be an interesting one. I'll wrap it up with this one. We'll see if we hit goal or not, but I'll wrap it up with this one. All right, Sign of the Cross, LifeSite News. Priest pushes the Vatican to fast-track Pope Francis's beatification. Will Pope Leo declare Francis as a saint? Is Pope Francis, the previous pope, going to be a saint? What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Do you think Pope Francis is going to become a saint? This was like when Leo was elected, they were like, "Oh, we're finally free." Because Francis was supposed to be like the most woke pope we've ever had. And then Leo was worse. But now they want to make, so just prior to Leo, the most woke priest ever, or most woke pope ever was Francis. Now they want to make him a saint. The same guy that said all religions are pathways to God. Yeah, absolutely. I think they will probably make him a saint. Calls to beatify Pope Francis emerged just 1 year after his death. Advocates point to pastoral symbolism and widespread perception of a religious figure who profoundly marked his time for beatification with no references to traditional criteria. A priest known for having been one of the main promoters of the Vatican's 2013 takeover of the Franciscan Friars of the Immaculate is now pushing for the beatification of Pope Francis. April 20th, Italian outlets reported that Father Alfonso Bruno, a spokesman for the FFI, has supported initiating a formal process towards the beatification of Pope Francis, who died April 17th, 2025. Bruno argues the late pontiff's life and actions expressed through the pastoral choices and public gestures of love towards the poor and marginalized indicate his sainthood. So the same pope that said all religions are pathways to God, This is the same guy that want to make him a saint. 1 year after his passing, what stands out, Bruno said, is a coherence of his life right to the end. He faded away like a candle, burning itself out after having given everything. According to Bruno, Francis' witness was not tied to theatrical constructs, but to a way of life defined as a concrete evangelical posture. It's precisely this lived radicality of the gospel that is cited as one of the elements underlying the request for beatification. He points to a series of actions undertaken by Pope Francis during his pontificate that are presented as evidence of his sanctity. Among these, particular emphasis is placed on the late Pope's first apostolic journey outside of Rome, which took place in July 2013 to the Italian islands of Lampedusa, where he addressed the issue of migration and commemorated those who died at sea. This account also highlights what's described as Pope Francis' final act outside the Vatican, April 17, 2025. Shortly before his death, he reportedly visited this prison in Rome, where he met with inmates. This visit is presented as consistent with a broader pattern of engagement with detainees, especially during annual liturgy of Holy Thursday, so on and so forth. So he's a super, super nice guy, according to this guy. So they want to make Pope Francis a saint. So you're going to see Saint Pope Francis potentially in the near future. If you're Roman Catholic and you thought Francis was an excellent pope, this might be a win for you. You might think this is a W. But as for the rest of us, for the people with brains, we can see he was a mega ecumenist, material heretic that said that all religions are pathways to God, supported mass migration, and all sorts of insane things. This is one of the worst pontificates that had ever occurred up until this time. Somebody said all popes are made saints. That's not true. There are plenty of popes that have never received beatification or sainthood. Plenty of them. So no, Francis is not automatically in the running to be a saint. But granted, if you're going to make somebody a saint that eats poop and vomit, then this is a really, really low bar to meet. I think Francis actually passes the bar of a poop eating, vomit eating woman saint. I don't know. What do you think about this? I think he passes that bar. It's a very low bar to be set, but here we are. So anyway, I think that just about wraps it up, y'all. So we've covered a lot of different things. I have a lot of Catholic news stuff saved basically at all times, dude. I've got tons and tons and tons of stuff going on in the Roman Catholic world. It is an absolute crazy, crazy, crazy mess. I'm going to be live again tomorrow, going live again tomorrow with Craig Truglia at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be debunking Oriental Orthodoxy, quote unquote. We're going to talk about how they're schismatic. Really, that's going to be him. He's going to be doing a presentation. And then we're also going to be showing that the Roman Catholics were schismatic historically. So he's going to be presenting a number of things on this subject. He asked to come on the show and present this material. So I said, sure, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. So he's going to be swinging by. On the 30th, Father Patrick O'Grady is going to be coming on the show. He is a professor. He has his PhD, Dr. Father Patrick O'Grady. He is a professor at the Antiochian House Seminary. He's going to be coming on the show to talk about Roman Catholicism and do a theological debunk of this group as well. And what do I have coming after that? That same day, I'm going to be doing a pre-recorded video with Ish of Arabia. We're going to be doing a Catholic apologetics ranking list. This will be a pre-recorded video that we're just going to do for fun. And then I'm actually going to do one of those on Monday with Redeem Zoomer. He's going to come on my show Monday. This will be pre-recorded as well, but we'll be doing a Protestant ranking video, ranking Protestant apologists. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. Again, I don't really think it's that big of a deal to have people, to engage with people that you disagree with and still be friendly with them, as long as you're not being some kind of an ecumenist. Like, these people know that our position is completely polar opposite of them. We don't believe that they're inside the church. but I don't think it's a big deal to be kind to people and to, have these types of conversations. Anyway, the 5th, Tuesday, big show. Father Peter Hears will be on the show May 5th, and Aiden Mattis, Lore Lodge, is going to come on, and we're going to be having a charitable discussion on Anglicanism. Father Hears is going to have a dialogue with him on this subject. We'll also probably talk about the fact that he's a Freemason, so that'll be interesting. Send us to the Crucible for the debate now. Is there a debate going on? Who's debating? Will you be attending beatification mass for Fulton Sheen? No, I won't. I most certainly will not be attending a Roman Catholic saint beatification mass. Why are you spurging, dog? Is Jay a heretic now? Whoa, why would Jay be a heretic? What are you talking about? Aiden Mattis, he's an Anglican guy. He's an Anglican dude. He did that debate with Tim Gordon and Jay Dyer on Tim Pool's show. He's this guy. Hold on, I'll show you. Aiden Mattis. He's this guy. He runs this show here. Lore Lodge. So he's an Anglican. So he'll be coming on, and I'll be presenting a case for orthodoxy with Father Hears, asking him why he's an Anglican, and we'll talk about why Enlightenment principles are not Christian morality. So that'll be an interesting discussion. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to hop off. Y'all have a good night. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Oh, wait. Let me see. Who's live right now? Is Alex Soren live yet? I know he said he was going to go live at some point. I think Alex Soren's going live at 9. Let me see if he posted. Okay. Yeah, Alex Soren's going to go live at 9. So you said the Crucible's open? The Crucible has people going? Let me see if who's debating right now. I'll send y'all there. And then let them know I sent you. Say, Cleave raid, Cleave to Antiquity raid. Redirect. Crucible. Andrew Wilson watch party. All right, there you go. I'll send you over to Andrew. All right. See you later. Till next time. God bless.